the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Hi guys, welcome back to SPTV for a very special edition. Thank you for all the claps, for all the ones that want to see parents be held accountable if they abuse their children. This is my first live episode for all of you who are joining me. I'm so glad you're here. This one's one for the books, you guys. So for all of you who are joining me now, hi. This is a very, very special episode. Hello, Liz. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Joe Spring, Susie Q. All of you guys. Hello. Goldie, everybody. You guys, let's clap again. I mean, I cannot stop clapping today, literally. It reminds me of being in a Scientology event, but for all the right reasons. So without bearing the lead, you guys, and I do have my Frosty here. This is going to be very interesting episode of what in the hell is Scientology so afraid of? We literally can't figure it out. But you know what? We're about to figure it out today. Because in this very, very special episode of What is Scientology So Afraid of, you guys, we're talking about Lori Vallow-Daybell. So I don't know, anyone in the comments, write it down. Are you guys familiar with Lori Vallow-Daybell? Anybody? Do you guys know who she is? Well, Lori Vallow-Daybell, and if you haven't checked out my post, let's read it together. Actually, might as well, right? So I can give you guys like the synopsis if you're not totally familiar, because there's a lot of crazy things going on over there in the world. But let's just narrow down the exact details of what in the hell we're going to talk about today. Hi, Violin. Hi, Catherine. Yeah, Lori, very familiar, says Jersey Janet. How are you doing? Shout out to you, Jersey Janet. Well, Lori Vallow-Daybell, you guys, is none other than the cult mom who literally offed her little younglings. We're going to keep it very, very PG, because you know what? It's so awful and horrific that there's really no use to glamorize something so horrific. But part of getting to the truth and part of getting to the facts and part of getting to where we need to get to in order to make any changes is really starting to contextualize all these gifts that the universe gives us, right? So here's the title: Lori Vallow-Daybell case sets precedent for accountability in Scientology parenting. And shout out to me, you guys, because that was my headline. The Tampa Bay Times is not covering this, so they haven't written anything about this case since 2020, turns out, So why this matters, why Lori Vallow-Daybell matters, you guys. Well, let's get into it exactly. The recent sentencing of Lori Vallow-Daybell has sent shockwaves through various communities, raising concerns about the actions of some parents who adhere to controversial beliefs, including those associated with Scientology. Regardless of one's faiths or beliefs, the case highlights the importance of accountability, the responsibility parents have to protect and care for their children. The legal consequences faced by Lori Vallow-Daybell, despite her religious affiliations, sets a precedent that transcends any religious ideology and emphasizes the obligation to abide by the law when raising children. So we're all tracking, right? Pretty simple. Here's the background of the case, you guys. Lori Vallow-Daybell, a woman associated with the beliefs of prepper movement, the prepper movement, the ones that are waiting for the world to end and all of that, has alleged ties and her alleged ties has elements of Scientology to it. And it has garnered national attention due to the tragic disappearance and deaths of her two children, Joshua J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. The case exposed the potential dangers of individuals who prioritize their beliefs over their parental duties, raising concerns about the impact of extremist ideologies on parenting decisions. So I think that's pretty clear, right? It's pretty common sense that we are actually finding out that turns out that everything that happened to us as kids, you guys, was totally no bueno whatsoever. So the next part is accountability of parents. The fundamental principle underlying the case of Lori Vallow-Daybell is that regardless of religious beliefs, parents are legally and morally obligated to protect their children's well-being and safety. Parenthood comes with a host of responsibilities, and the state has a vested interest in ensuring the welfare of children. And I mean, let's not forget about Serge Oblinsky's documentary that just came out, where we saw why literally the state really needs to care for what the hell is being done to children, because he didn't deserve what happened to him. And there's a reason that it happened to him, right? It continues, the Vallow-Daybell case has illustrated that no matter what religious or philosophical beliefs a parent subscribes to, they must adhere to the law and provide a safe environment for their children. So we feel like we're actually having to give a parenting course, and you know, we don't mean to insult any of the wonderful, amazing parents that I'm sure are in the comments that are actually don't need to be told this, because you know, this should be coming as common sense when you are a human. What happened is that these people get dehumanized by these seducers that implant all manner of BS rhetoric to literally flip parents against their own kids. And that is all we are against, you guys. Literally all we are against is don't turn the parents to flip on their children. Outside of that, believe whatever. Like, you're not messing with children. You're doing your thing. You want to believe some crazy thing. You want to spend doing whatever. You know what? Suit yourself. Next one is importance of separating beliefs from parenting. In any society, religious freedom is an essential tenet, and individuals have the right to hold and practice their beliefs. However, it is crucial to distinguish between the right to belief and the duty of parenting. While parents have the right to pass on their values to children, it must be done responsibly, with due consideration for the child's safety, well-being, and legal rights. So I think these last three things here that I just said, you guys, are important to emphasize, because with due consideration for the child's safety, and that's why we keep talking about these audits, right? Like the so-called audits that every last adult in those hotels are out there claiming that they're just amazing and beyond belief. And wouldn't you just love to do one yourself? I mean, maybe they can lure any of y'all to do it, but none of those audits are safe for children, period, full stop. We know every last shred of Elven Hubbard advice that's pitching these audits as whatever in the hell they're being pitched, okay? But it's the fact that a child is not safe in that environment, period, full stop. We don't care about your belief and your right to do whatever. No adult in America has the right to abuse a child. And if your beliefs are, you know, propelling that behavior, because turns out that that's what beliefs are, right? Like if you believe something that, and then it makes you act it out. So It really is about putting a mirror in front of your face and really going like, is this the right thing I should be believing? Self-reflection is very important because that's what these people are running around without a shred of. So the Lori Vallow-Daybell case has brought to light the importance of holding parents accountable for their actions, irrespective of their religious beliefs or associations. Parenthood is a responsibility that requires putting the best interest of the child first, ensuring their safety and abiding by the law. The law. So shout out to Monique Yingling. Maybe she wants to check her little law books and, start pitching those role play extreme sessions that go on at her hotels day in and day out. Adults being facilitated, that kind of environment, hotel environment. And maybe she should start looking at her case law and, really checking, can we just really do whatever the hell we want? And are those beliefs never going to be questioned by the courts? Because you know what? In Idaho, shout out to them, turns out that they weren't being gaslit by Lori Vallow. And that's why it's so important, you guys, that these cameras were allowed into this courtroom so that we can all witness, so y'all can all witness like the proper application of the law and not this other BS that we've been given all these years. Anyways, it ends with, it serves as a reminder to all parents, regardless of their faith, that they will be held accountable for their actions when it comes to the welfare of their children. Individuals who have chosen to enable or engage in abusive behavior toward children while claiming to follow the teachings of convicted and indicted felon in absentia Elven Hubbard must recognize that their actions have legal consequences. I mean, we're all here, breaking news. In such circumstances, they should seek legal representation from criminal attorneys to advocate for their defense. You see how that works, you guys? Like, y'all, America's willing to provide you an advocate. If you want to claim that what y'all were doing in that hotel is so amazing and so incredible and was taking you closer to God, well, you know what? Go talk to your criminal defense attorney and pitch that idea to them. And then ask them if you are in any sort of liability, because it turns out that, Lori Vallow-Daybell was in a lot of criminal liability as a result of, hooking up with all kinds of characters. And the other aspect that this presents, you guys, that's so important is so we can all have a front row seat at what the delusion of these parents looks and sounds like. Now, mind you, this one literally is her already having been convicted. She was already found convicted. This is like what's coming to Danny Masterson. So for all of y'all who are interested in kind of getting a little preview of what the hell we're going to hear when we have Danny Masterson's sentencing, well, this is going to be the perfect backdrop for that. So we're going to get into all of it. We're going to get into every single aspect of it. And we're going to have our commentary so that we can start adding just our little 2 cents for the minors. And just so that we can really use this example of this woman who represents, unfortunately, for a lot of us, how our parents were behaving against us. So shout out to all the kids of Scientology that, all of us are coming here, all of you guys that are in the chat that are joining us, and we're all advocating on y'all's behalf. And we're all saying the exact same things we wish someone would have been saying for our young self when we were stuck in those hotels, regardless of what our parents were thinking and believing and all of this delusion. We are going to pop that bubble, pop the bubble. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining me. And let's stop hearing crickets, because I think after this episode, we're going to not hear this sound. Right? I mean, who wants to hear crickets? That's so annoying. Okay, you guys, here it goes. Let's hear what the judge is going to tell us about Lori Vallow.
All right, Ms. Vallow, before I impose sentence, if you choose, you may address the court. This is known as the right of allocution, which permits you to make a statement on your own behalf or present any information in mitigation of the punishment for the crimes you've committed. And let me inquire at this time, do you wish to address this court? All right, very well, you may make your statement.
All right, you guys, and before we actually hear Lori Vallow's statement, let's just react here real quick, okay? To just give you guys a little behind the scenes, because shout out to what actually holding and upholding ethics looks and sounds like from this judge, you guys. Notice his tone. He's dealing with something unthinkable. He's trying to be respectable to this woman who literally, I mean, again, it's like this episode is not to get into the details. You guys can GTS and hear all the horrific, disgusting things she did, unthinkable. So just so you know, okay? But in an effort to juxtapose what ethics inside those hotels and this man who's actually a judge, who actually went to school, who actually didn't complete a 2-week course in a hotel to purport that he could be a law person, you know, because let's not stop emphasizing that all these so-called ethics people at those hotels complete a 2-week course before proceeding in listening, including but not limited to the level of Class A felonies that are being discussed in this American court. So shout out to Florida, who literally allows for a police station to be literally behind a hotel that, you know, if you want to circumvent the law real quick, just end up at that hotel, okay? And you will be given a minor that will give you ethics like this judge here. So for all of you at OSA that have no clue what ethics is, start listening to this man here. You know, he actually kind of looks like that ethics book judge that you guys have in the cover. But, you know, y'all's ethics is completely fake AF. Okay? Just take a look at the source, like you guys like to call it. Source, you know, source, Elven Hubbard. And, you know, I know you can't Google, but, you know, if you Googled it and you read the Tampa Bay Times, you will find out that, you know, apparently Elven Hubbard is a very religious person, and they can't seem to want to stop pitching the word church in every last one of the little segments. And we're going to do more of the Tampa Bay Times, but let's not digress. And now let's really prepare ourselves to hear what in the hell Lori Vallow wants to talk about. Let's go.
I would like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible. In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus said,
so here you go, guys, with the pitch of the Bible and the blah, blah, blah. I have a feeling that our parents would do the same. L. Ron Hubbard told us, let me pitch you this policy here. Let me really like, and what's so sad, you guys, is are those ideas that this woman is spouting as she's literally being sentenced for the unthinkable, are they hers? Or are they something she found in a ridiculous book that was pitched as like, oh yeah, you know, the best way to do whatever is just read this crazy shit, right? So we really have to start questioning what happens, because how the hell does a woman like her end up in her place?
says, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Then in verse 15, Jesus says, ye judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications.
Zoom may be great for meeting.
Whoops, we have a commercial. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry about that. I meant to get the upgrade on it, but let me just react real quick about that. Judge and Jesus, and he knows me and he doesn't judge me and I can do whatever. Well, guess who else feels that way, you guys? Our literal parents. Elven Hubbard doesn't judge me. I didn't do a class A felony on a minor. I just did an L2D. So isn't that convenient that all these adults get all kinds of words pitched to them that can just regurgitate to literally hide their truth in plain sight? I mean, because what we're talking about here is like severe cognitive dissonance. So that's what we see from Lori Vallow-Daybell right now, just pure cognitive dissonance spewed. I wouldn't want to trade places with her. Literally is the most unthinkable, horrific thing. But for her to have like not a shred of remorse is where these people become, just once they become psychopaths, like where's the remorse? Where's them thinking like I shouldn't do this anymore? Like that's been already extracted from their humanity, right? And that's how they get dehumanized. As humans, we arrive here with moral compass, but these books and these characters, literally twist these people's heads inside out. And look, I'm not coming for the Bible. I wouldn't know. I have no idea what it says. I just heard about the birds and the bees and the rivers and the elephants being traveled in the river. None of that was what Elven Hubbard was. So let's make sure that that's very clear. His books had nothing like that. There was no talk of elephants or rivers or nothing. It was just lock up a person, ask him these disgusting questions, entitle yourself to literally dehumanize somebody in front of you. So very different textbooks that we were reading in those hotels and what this woman is purporting to be all about. But let's not forget that she had a man, the guy that she literally committed the what's with to her kids, that was again seducing her and telling her that he was the shit and da 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 da. And it's like the same thing as Elven Hubbard, right? These men pitch themselves as this, greatest thing, but they're just little pieces of shit that are just complete and utter degenerates. So they get their fangs on literal women like her that, you'll see, like, it almost doesn't make sense. A lot of people came and testified at the thing that they didn't recognize her anymore because this is not who she was. This is who she became. So that's one of the biggest strategies for us, you guys, because, some of us don't even know what our parents were before, right? Like we never had before you went this crazy, who were you? Like, were you really always about like this level of entitlement and, zero lack of self-awareness? Because any human that's running around with no self-awareness and horrible entitlement is dangerous for other humans, right? They're not considering anyone else. So let's see what else she says.
I have a different perspective in life.
Oh, guys, she's got a different perspective. Never mind that her literal children are underground because of her beliefs.
Because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body. because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven.
All right, guys. And just to, give you the parallel of our parents and what this woman is sounding like, you can almost think like, she almost wants to go give a dissertation at a college, tangible, and I died, and the spirit, and the blah, and the this, and the that, and this, she's not making any sense, right? But it's like all of this self-laundering of their own image. The more they speak in these words, and the more they quote things and just pitch this derangement, convincing themselves of their own delusion, right? Seducing themselves into believing their own lie, because that's all this woman is doing here, spewing all these things about how she died and she came back and all of that. She's going to get into more, but that's unfortunately the level of cognitive dissonance that our parents had. They talked to us about, oh, this is your past life, or oh no, you didn't get a class A felony perpetrated on you. You just had an out 2D, and it's all going to just float, and all these things that actually make no sense. And if they did make sense, they're so deranged and horrific that you really have to ask, what in the actual hell?
I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world.
See, there she goes with the narcissism. She had access. Like, y'all don't get it. Y'all are just complete idiots. I have access. I get to do this. I get to do that. I blah, blah, blah. That's the rhetoric of these disgusting people that make women like her believe that she's special in some way and that her delusions are actually going somewhere.
Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents.
And there she goes with how she's so hooked up, you guys. She's talking to all these people, and y'all don't get me because y'all are so inferior to me, and I'm just so much more spiritual than y'all. That's her pitch to us right now, as she gets convicted for life. Never mind that all the evidence is there, very much like our parents, they kept evidence of everything they did, you guys. Literally, our parents kept evidence of everything. Video recorded, contemporaneous notes, routing forms, check sheets, signatures, boxes of evidence. Like, the more they would document their disgusting, abhorring, despicable, unthinkable ways, the more they pretend that it was all so valid, like, oh yeah, we really need that document where we all agreed that this literal class A felony, like the ones that Lori Vallow is going to prison for life for, literally, this literally class A felony is nothing. It's just an out 2D. What are you so worried about? It's just an out 2D. We are very special here. We have a technology that is just about to float that. Don't call it that. Don't call it class A felony. The law is so stupid. They don't know anything. We're going to go free. We have a technology. They don't have a technology. They're just going to make you a body. Like, would you want to be a body? And there you go with the pitch of the derangement of these adults, that how dare they did that to unthinkable amount of kids, right? If they were all about talking to like each other like that, and they liked it rough, and they like it tough, and they like it all these ways that we're going to continue to expose, that's fine. Like, who cares? Who the hell cares? You like it, go do it. No one's going to come to your rescue. Literally, we're not going to lose any sleep. We don't have the bandwidth to go literally save every last adult that wants to self-destruct on their own merit. But, if they're all abusing their kids at scale, then that's where it behooves all of us to come to the defense and be like, stop doing this disgusting stuff, right?
I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I've had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested.
Imagine being the murderer of your own kids and you're just so hooked up. Like angels are coming to you, God's coming to you, you're being given all manner of access in this world that you keep pitching to everybody. I mean, that's narcissism, guys. Like literally, and she, you know, speaks so softly and so victim-y, but there's no victim there. There's just a complete and utter disgusting witch.
Themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy.
Imagine after being convicted that you're still, you know, wanting to be right. And that, yeah, my children are so happy now that I literally put them underground, right? Like that makes a lot of sense.
And busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy.
And wouldn't we know, guys, like, you know, we all heard the John Travolta pitches, how he loves it there, how his kids couldn't be happier, how, you know, he's been saving people with it. You know, it's the same delusional pitch, right, that we get from all these people who want to tell us that the rhetoric of an unindicted, convicted, in absentia felon is just so amazing. And wouldn't you just feel like it's so amazing if only you were cleared to be allowed to step foot in the hotel? Because let's not forget that these people were vetting who got inside the hotel. Not any old Joe Schmo, as much as they purport that, oh yeah, any old Schmo can come. They come, but then do they qualify to be in the hotel? Do they qualify to see all this dysfunction? Do they qualify to really be trusted with what we're all about here? Because you know what? If you don't qualify, you're out of the hotel faster than your head can spin.
I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day. I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm.
There you go, guys. See, Elven Hubbard knew what the hell he was doing, right? So he was like, oh yeah, if I just fill them with all this, what is called as disassociation, with all, and he was like, no, let's not use religion because that is actually ridiculous, and who gives an F about Christ? I, Elven Hubbard, will write down here on a piece of paper some diluted stuff, and instead of calling it spirit, I call it Thetan, and instead of calling it spiritual realm, I would call it the messed Theta Universe, and all manner of BS euphemisms, guys, so that all our adult parents ended up sounding like this woman on the stand. I know my kids are infinite beings. They're adults in small bodies. I give them so much more than the world because the world wants to paint them as bodies, but I tell them that they're Thetans and they're operating Thetans and they're really, really have so many abilities, and you're going to see how this technology is going to give you ability. There's no manner of stuff these people won't pitch and sell to children that cannot push back, because the level of intellectual abuse goes off the Richter scales. If there ever was one, it would have just literally gone like that ad nauseum, nonstop, as it's still going in this year 2023, you guys, because you know what? Apparently America does believe in holding cult parents accountable, as we're seeing here on this screen. So let's continue watching what she says.
We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine.
See, there you go. These fucking people. I'm sorry. I try not to swear, you guys, but literally, I'm sorry. Like, and in our defense, okay, it takes a lot of discipline not to swear. I try not to swear because I want to be respectful of all of you who give space for this unthinkable stuff that we talk about that is already so nauseating to listen to. But, you know, I don't want to add the swearing, but sometimes, you know, this is how these people were speaking to us, you guys, like literally swear words every other second. But the point to the story was that the spiritual realm, and isn't death so much better? Isn't death so much wonder? Like, you're going to love it when you're there. Like, you know, that's what kind of adult is talking to kids about death being wonderful and wouldn't you want to go check it out? And you come back a million times anyway, so don't be worrying about it. Like, just go and die and, you know, you'll just come back. You come right back, because our rhetoric here in this book from a volcano that says I can kiss kids that they're 7. So that book here says that, you know, it doesn't matter. You die, you come back, you float, derangement, and you know, it's time to stop cuddling adults that believe that way and stop this like status quo of like, oh my God, I can offend you. Oh my God, are you offended because I just told you what in the hell your beliefs are doing to your child? I mean, mind you guys, like, this is coming from compassion. You know how they say tough love? Well, we don't want to be talking about this subject anymore, but we have to give the tough love to these people because they need a wake-up call like hell. And, you know, Lori Vallow is actually helping us here make that little wake-up call for all Scientology parents out there.
I do not fear death, but I look forward to it.
See, she doesn't fear death. I mean, but who's dead, Lori? Your kids or you? Because that would be a good question for you to ask yourself.
I did not want to return to my body when I was out of it. Even though my son Colby, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly. I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine.
So just so that we can contextualize our parents there, you guys, they don't call it heaven. They call it the Theta Universe. Oh, I'm at the Theta Universe. You're not at the Theta Universe. You're so in Theta, you can't come to this universe. Meanwhile, they're sitting on a floor under the laws of gravity, but they can't stop pitching how much they're floating. Imagine.
Without me, because I was peaceful and I was happy and I was home.
And again, you guys, if you've read our parents' success stories of what they do in those hotels to them and how much peace and how much happiness they find after getting those little role plays done for themselves, you know, because going back to the situation, yes, Elven Hubbard wrote it. Yes, it's all his fault. Yes, he's the source and the problem, right? But who signed the Monique Yingling contracts that said consenting to all manner of, I have literally this, you guys, this is Scientology's contract in a nutshell. Are you ready to sign for 0 rights? Where do you sign? Here, the dotted line. Just put your initials there. It's all it takes. Just go like that. And all of a sudden, you'll find yourself with nothing. Right? That's all it is. But you know what? It's extreme. You know, some people are into very, very extreme things. Like this woman, extreme, like, let's stay out of house, the world's gonna end, and la 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 la. Well, you know what? You're allowed to believe that as an adult. Go help yourself. But you know, what about your kids? Like, they won't go to school anymore. You're gonna abuse them at that house because you're living out a deranged idea that is literally putting them in danger. And that's why it's good that we actually use this case to separate that stupidity, right? Because nobody gives a hell what an adult wants to do. We're not here controlling adults. That's not a thing. Adults are adults. That's why you have consequences when you make bad choices. That's what the law's there for. So let's continue seeing how this woman got where she got to.
But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home, and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future. So ultimately, I did agree to go back.
How she was going to help her children, you guys. And again, like, I don't want to keep stopping, but it's like the diamonds and the gold in a testimony and the video recording of her thing, because I bet you her little cult doesn't have the type of power that apparently those hotels have in Clearwater, where they've castrated every last newspaper, every last police place, every last anything, any shred of decency is gone in that city, because they're all out there playing dumb, pretending that go ahead, believe whatever, just be like Lori Vallow-Daybell, right? Like, that makes a lot of sense, Florida and California, because before anybody says, no, it's just a republic. No, it's not Republican. It's literally the whole country. This hotels and commercial buildings are in the entire country. In California, just as much as Florida, just as much as literally Texas and Kansas, where Reese is from. I mean, there's no place these people don't have something. And that's actually what makes them deluded, that their shit is like, oh yeah, this is so legit, because we wouldn't be in every last state of the United States if we were just all part of a criminal conspiracy, would we? That would be a good question for those parents to start asking criminal advocate. Yeah.
Back.
Registering for an account with Law Clerk.
So there you go with the commercials again. You guys, next live, I promise you I'll have this fixed. But I've been getting a lot of comments on back channels, you guys, about parents and conversations that have happened that I couldn't be more happy that are happening, because kids are actually finding out that they can have very, very tough conversations with parents. Not everybody's disconnected from their parents. Sometimes, you know, you had the ability to leave with your parent, and then they left, and, you know, they're still kind of screwed up in the head, because very much like this woman, they cannot reconcile with the truth for themselves. And, you know, we don't envy them a shred. It's already hard enough for us to reconcile with everything that happened in those hotels. And then to have to find out that your parents put you up to it. And then, you know, to have to find out that, you know, yeah, the hotel people and those executives had a lot to do with what seduced, enticed, incentivized our parents to collude with them, right? So I still give my parents a shred of like, well, you were seduced into it. Would you have come up with how to child traffic me had those people not put up every last thing to make it so easy for you? Maybe not, right? But then my parents, on the other hand, literally just signed, you know, where's our little sticky note? They signed this for me, like, yeah, sure, take my kid, like, go ahead. So that's the part of betrayal trauma that is almost unthinkable, that these people almost can think about really, really what it is, because they know they cannot reconcile with the fact that Elven Hubbard betrayed them and then turned them against their own kids. I mean, what kind of living nightmare would that be if you were actually deluded as they've been, right? Like, they've been under the spell of something. They're under the influence, if you will. So do I have compassion? I have compassion. I understand why they're so deluded and crazy and just disgusting, right? And that's unacceptable. And I want them to change. I want them to stop. And it will be better in their best interest for them to stop. It's not in their best interest to continue to be cuddled and canoodle a la Clearwater police station. Oh yeah, you can believe whatever. Oh, where did you get that kid from? Oh, they come from Siberia and they're 14 and they work at your hotel. Why are they leaving on a bus at 3 o'clock in the morning? I mean, it's not like the Clearwater police can't see when these minors are leaving the hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning, you guys. So let's keep putting that into perspective, since apparently everything goes around in Clearwater. They literally have not a shred of guardrails in that city.
Tylee has visited me. She is happy and very busy. Tylee is free now from all the pains of her life. Tylee suffered horrible physical pain her whole life. I sat with Tylee in the hospital year after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't even enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis.
Imagine being the woman that pitches your child needing to die because the morphine wasn't enough. I mean, literally, like, are those like reverse maternal instincts or what?
I sat there while she cried and I held back her hair while she threw up. And I am the only person on this earth who knows how much Tylee suffered in her life.
That's called being a mother. Last time we checked with any mother, right, guys? As a mother, aren't you there for your child? I mean, I'm like that for my pet. Like literally, if he literally starts coughing 1 second, I won't take my attention off of that. So I couldn't even imagine you actually producing a human being out of your own thing and then having that be your DNA, and you wouldn't even think of harming it. Like, what in the world is actually going on?
She had pain every single day. She never felt good.
And that's the human condition, right, you guys? Like, how many of our loved ones are in pain? How much we don't have a choice but hold space for them, help them, support them. We can sometimes take that physical pain away. And yes, it sucks. And yes, it's tough. And nobody wants to deal with it. But, who just thinks like, well, you know what? You'd be better if you just offed yourself because, you're just in so much pain. Wouldn't it just be so much better? Like, literally.
Her body did not work right. And I don't know if that was from complications from me dying while she was being born or something else, but she had a very difficult life.
You made her life difficult, Lori. Correction. If only you would just be told how you're actually the one that created all this dysfunction. You're the mother. You gave birth. So why wouldn't you just look after whatever she was running into? Why would you make this about you?
She was sexually abused by her own biological father since she was 3 years old, and she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will.
I mean, I didn't even know that was coming, you guys, because I didn't know that part of the thing. But I mean, this woman just cannot provide more gold and more testimony to make a case against the people that are bringing their children to those hotels. Because very much like Lori, very much like Carol Masterson, shout out to you, Carol Masterson, who's literally Lori Vallow personified, you guys. Carol Masterson herself. Except that in the case of Carol Masterson, guess who would find out that literally her own son was having problems, big problems? Guess, you don't have to guess, right? Like, she knew. This woman knew if there was really a problem of sexual abuse, what kind of mother would allow 10 years? Literally, like, and all this pitching of the court did this to me and the court did that to me. I mean, I'm sure that there's some people out there that are crooked AF. I'm not here to defend every last law person. I mean, the reason that we were child trafficked is because the law told us that this is all valid and all okay. So there's tons of ways to twist that. But a fact of what she's bringing up here about the SA of her own child, like, what type of court would really ignore those allegations? And if she really did get ignored for 10 years and they really did force her to be there with that guy for 10 years and that there was evidence of all of that, it just doesn't make sense, right? It's just one of these many, many false pitches that these mothers have. But, going back to the point of like how She's, she's aware of these, felonies against her children in the mode of SA. Well, our parents were always being made aware of that for ourselves. Except that, different than Lori, she's at least blaming the other one. Our parents blamed us. It was our fault. It wasn't the other person. Like, well, you went out ethics too. What's your responsibility in all of this? I mean, again, the point of adults in small bodies, you're being adulticized. So yeah, I mean, if two adults go have an affair and it's consensual, you can blame it on both. Makes sense, right? But just imagine that the derangement that happens when people like Debbie Cook, people like Marty Rathbun, people like Kathy True, people like Angie Trent, people like Angie Blankenship, people like Yvonne Kellerhouse, people like Sean Carino Smith, people like Paul Kellerhouse, people like Heather Hoff, all blame it on the child. They sat there in those rooms and said, you did this in the bathroom of the 3rd floor of the Fort Harrison this many times, and we have this, all these details, you guys, literally every last shred of detail. But then all these women took it upon themselves to blame it on the child. Categorically, every time, it doesn't matter. That's the ethics they dished out. They sat in that kind of, I'm the judge, I have the power of my 2-week hotel course to indict you. You're going to get a COMEV for having going back to the euphemism, out to D, right? Because let's not forget, these people use this euphemism for absolutely everything. Like, you can't say the R word, just call it this. You can't say this, right? You cannot say that. Literally call it this. I mean, you're going to tell the details and graphically how, where, unzipping, blah, blah, blah. I literally can't even talk about it because it's literally nauseating, but you get the fucking point, right?
I fought for her in court. I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her every single day. Tylee had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because she never felt good. She felt sick. Nobody knows this because Tylee, like myself, tries to put on a good front, tries to be a happy person, tries to have hope in life, tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her. One of the times that Tylee came to me as a spirit after she died, she commanded me and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mom. We are fine." She knows how I worry and how I miss her. The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom. I love you. And I know you loved me every minute of my life."
And that's what's so hard, you guys. As a kid,
JJ,
you
Joshua
literally
Jackson
don't imagine that your
wasn't
parent
a-
is doing something to hurt you. Like, that's so unthinkable. Like, you're so defenseless because it's pitched with such, this is what you need, with such certainty that we're so certain about it. And that's so horrific about it, right? Because at the end of the day, you guys, this was not the case where, as kids, we were taking to a Larry Nassar and nobody had a clue what that guy was doing there, right? Our parents knew everything that was going on in those things because they were getting it done themselves to themselves because they loved it. They liked it. They like it extreme. They like it rough. They like it no boundaries. They like it being locked up, tied up to the machine, interrogated sadistically, no boundaries, any question, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. I'll give you another $10,000 for another intensive package and blah, 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 all that stuff that just literally laundered their dysfunction and their narcissism, because the more they would become these degenerates, the more certificates Debbie Cook gave them. Oh, here's your next certificate. Here's your next certificate. Oh, you just told us every last time you've ever out to read somebody. Oh, well, now you deserve a certificate. Guess who was given certificates? Danny Masterson. After coming clean, because as much as, you know, Scientology was kept out of the case, it really boggles the mind how in the hell they were kept out of the case when they were handling the case. And I kid you not, these people call it case. Oh, we need to handle your case. Oh, we're going to do your case. Case. That word is a legal term that is used to define everything that's going on with you. So there they are practicing law without a license, literally deposing anybody without a shred of control. Because, you know, we should really ask Monique Yingling if she gives herself that level of unhinged ask anything on this deposition, because Monique, that understands that, you know, as a lawyer, you're only allowed to ask certain questions. You have to respect the boundaries given a bunch of things that you have to know. Well, she just thinks it's a great idea for a child to be placed in a room with a man or a woman, grown man or grown woman, that is literally a stranger to you. You have no idea who these people are. A lot of them are weird AF, literally. Like, you're like, who in the hell is this creep? Well, take it. And you have to say you love it or you ain't getting out of the room. So there.
Adult spirit. And he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me. He is busy. He is engaged. He has jobs that he does there, and he is happy where he is. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone, and I adored him every minute of his life. My eternal friend, Tammy Daybell, has visited me on several occasions. She came to bring me peace and comfort, and I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren. And I have a great love for Tammy. My beautiful children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend, Tammy Daybell, rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus. And I look forward to the day when we are all reunited, and I too will rest with them in the arms of my Jesus.
All right, Ms. Vallow, thank you for your comments to the court.
Let's listen to the judge, you
Let me
guys.
ask you at this time, Ms. Vallow, are you fully satisfied with the representation you've received from your attorneys throughout this case?
Yes.
Please, Lord Zux.
Please, God. Notice yet again the level of respect that this judge has to have, you guys, to actually be doing a job that has to do with actually handling something as unthinkable as this, right? And just to yet again juxtapose for the billionth time, when you're getting ethics handled in these Scientology hotels, they do not afford you that level of grace, respect, or anything. They'll be locking you up in a room, yelling and screaming at you. Get your fucking ethics in. Stop dramatizing. You're just a degraded being, and stop until you acquiesce and mold yourself and people please them because that's the drill inside those hotels. People please us. People please all these adults that are coming here paying the big bucks. You wouldn't want to get Debbie Cook pissed at you. Trust me, you really, really don't want that. So here's a judge that's going to now kind of school her. Oh,
All right,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
court will conclude then with my own review of the matter and then pronounce sentence. Ms. Vallow, based on the jury's verdict of guilty in this case, it is the judgment of this court that you're guilty of the following counts of the amended indictment. Count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception. Count 2, first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan. Count 3, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception. Count 4, first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow. Count 5, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell. And count 7, grand theft. We carefully reviewed the record of this case, beginning with your prior criminal history. Very notably, you're 50 years old. These are the first criminal convictions you've ever had. I will note, however, in addition to these convictions, you have 2 additional conspiracy to commit first-degree murder cases pending in Arizona. And it's somewhat incredible in this case that seeing you've gone from no criminal history in your life to now having been convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and you continue to face more additional counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in another state. I've looked at the recommendations in the pre-sentence investigation report. It ultimately recommends a prison sentence stating, quote, incarceration under the custody of the Idaho Board of Correction. Normally, the court would have some additional information to rely on in fashioning its sentence, including the benefit of recommendations based on a gain evaluation, substance abuse report, mental health review, and other reports. However, you elected not to cooperate with the pre-sentence investigation. As I would note on page 23 of the pre-sentence investigation report, it states, quote, Lori Vallow-Daybell intends to remain silent during the pre-sentence investigation process. She has the packet, but does not intend to answer any questions of evaluators or investigators. Quote, no attempts were made to complete the court-ordered screenings due to her refusal. I'm advising you that that was your choice to not cooperate in the pre-sentence investigation, but it left me without some additional information that potentially could have been mitigating in your case.
And that's what we're going to see with the Danny Masterson thing. You guys remember how they were saying how he is not going to cooperate and do all the things that the state affords people, you know, because they know that, you know, when you do these kind of things, like they're giving you chance after chance after chance to kind of like show that you understand that you really did screw up. So there is some humanity in some of this law stuff, even though not everybody gets treated like this woman has, you know, because how many examples have we seen? This woman has been given so much grace and treated with so much respect, as everyone should. We're not advocating for nobody to not be treated with, you know, literally due process. But yeah, it's pretty telling.
And as I proceed with the sentencing, I'll note those deficiencies in the information I normally would have in a pre-sentence investigation report. As has been mentioned by both sides here, the court has to consider certain sentencing objectives when I sentence somebody, and these are set out in cases including State versus Toohill, which is a Court of Appeals case 103 Idaho 565, and it's been adopted by our Supreme Court as well. And I have to consider 4 main objectives. Number 1, the protection of society, which is the primary objective. 2, deterrence of the individual and public generally. 3, possibility of rehabilitation. And 4, punishment or retribution for wrongdoing. That states, or case states, moreover, it's clear as a matter of policy in Idaho, the primary consideration is.
What I love about Angel Sense is I always know.
Okay, you guys, and I just got YouTube Premium, just so you know while we were listening to this.
Society.
I wonder if I have to refresh it on this, but it's on my phone now.
All other factors must be subservient to that end. I've also reviewed and considered the criteria set forth in an Idaho statute 1925-21 on the question of whether or not you should be confined to prison and to what extent. That statute sets out a variety of factors I have to consider in weighing whether a long prison term here would be appropriate. Some of the attorneys cited already to some of the provisions of that statute. And again, it talks about the primary consideration of the protection of society and also talks about the impact on the victim, the possibility of risk reduction through rehabilitation and deterrence are also to be considered. There are some factors laid out in that statute that are not necessarily controlling, but weigh in favor against either imprisonment or in this case where imprisonment's required, an extensive imprisonment term. Some of those factors under Part 2 of this statute is the defendant's criminal conduct neither caused nor threatened harm, which is clearly not the case here. That the defendant did not contemplate the conduct would cause or threaten harm. Again, that would not apply here. The defendant's criminogenic needs indicate the defendant will benefit from supervision and treatment in the community. That's unavailable as community treatment can't occur with a minimum prison sentence required here. Another factor, were there substantial grounds tending to excuse or justify the defendant's criminal conduct, though failing to establish a defense. I don't find those apply given the facts of this case. Other factors, the victim of the defendant's criminal conduct induced or facilitated the commission of the crime. That did not occur here. Another part talks about compensation, which I don't find would be appropriate here other than on the grand theft charge. Part G, the defendant has no history of prior delinquency or criminal activity or has led a law-abiding life for a substantial period of time before the commission of the present crime. That is the single most mitigating factor I see in this case. Again, it's unbelievable that at your age, you have no prior criminal history and now you sit here convicted of the most serious of charges. I also have to consider whether the criminal conduct was the result of circumstances unlikely to recur. Based on the evidence in this case, and in particular, considering the statement you just made to the court, I find it weighs against me finding in mitigation for that factor. And then finally,
So shout out to him, you guys, that's actually calling out the statement, you know, just as we all heard it, like there was not a shred of remorse. There was not a shred of dealing with the reality of her actions. And that's where we really get to the core of the mental illness and the delusion. And the fact that yet again, we go, this woman is under the influence of something, right? Like she didn't just arrive there by herself. And that is what's so tragic about this, right? Because at the end of the day, every last adult that bought the pitch from Elven Hubbard are now, you know, the prisoners of their own stupidity.
the character and attitudes of the defendant indicate the commission of another crime is unlikely or the defendant demonstrates amenability to treatment. So those are the mitigating factors. Then in aggravation, we have more factors to consider. Is there an undue risk that during the period of a suspended sentence or probation, the defendant would commit another crime harmful to another person? Would a lesser sentence depreciate the seriousness of the defendant's crime? Will imprisonment provide appropriate punishment and deterrent to the defendant? Will imprisonment provide an appropriate deterrent for other persons in the community? And if
See, and that's such a key part of the law, right, guys? Like, will this sentence, is it going to help other people to be like, yo, don't do this because this is what you're going to get if you do this? And again, one of the reasons that the Scientology parents are going to find themselves in the worst place ever is because everyone's been cuddling and canoodling, but let's not forget that it's all that cuddling and canoodling, even from the courts, has come from a point of in good faith, right? Like the whole process here is you can believe whatever you want. We're not going to interfere. It's fine. You know, we find it crazy. We don't see how you see that, but it's not our job to come and tell you how to live your life. That's a whole like freedom thing. But if you allow all these parents to literally have no guardrails in these hotels, literally not go in and see what in the hell they're doing to their kids, and everybody's acted their entire life as if they deserve to do whatever. Like there's not going to be a single shred of a consequence. Every case is going to be derailed. Every victim is going to be silenced. It's going to be muscled. It's going to be fair game. They have a whole slew of BS that they've been involved in, given that they are in a criminal racketeering scam altogether, working as a team, right? So that's very important that actual courts start really understanding what in the literal hell is going on and how are they being played, because that's the part that is so egregious about this. Like everyone's giving you a good faith benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, we don't get you, but you know what? We're not here to judge you. Go do it. Unless the police doesn't catch you in the act, I guess nothing happens, right? So when are the police going to catch these people in the act of locking us up against our will if we couldn't leave the goddamn room, for example? And when we have gone to the police and told them what the hell happened, I mean, not like in this case, like the police actually went and did their job. I mean, law enforcement can show that they can do a job. It's just the Clearwater police that couldn't be more clueless, apparently.
Factor that would not apply here is the defendant a multiple offender or professional criminal. I don't have an LSI score, which is one value I can look at to help determine whether or not you'd be likely to reoffend. I don't have that because you wouldn't cooperate with the report. So considering here that you've lived a law-abiding life and for a long time, you were obviously a good mother, sister, daughter.
I mean, imagine that grace that this judge is even giving her, that, you know, she's being still given the benefit of the doubt. Like, you're presumed innocent for all those other years that we don't know what in the hell you were doing, right? Like, okay, maybe it all just happened in this late part of your life, you know? And unfortunately, people like Debbie Cook and people like Marty Rathbun and people like Angie Blankenship, you guys, they don't have that type of ability to say that about themselves, you know, because they were literally breaking the law every day that they were in the hotel, empowering themselves to break all the laws, going around with full consciousness of guilt. I mean, if you think that these people didn't know that they could get in trouble for, you know, this in their hotel, you know, you couldn't be more wrong. They knew it was against the law. They knew that it was completely ridiculous that they were laundering the felony themselves, because they literally were two pathetic clowns in cosplay uniforms playing that 2-week course is all it took for them to not have to go to school and really have to study the law. Because, you know, Elven Hubbard like made us so powerful with this one course here. There's a mosquito. So let's just really contextualize that there for everyone. So people like Marty Rathbun and Debbie Cook literally became abominable, ridiculous felons that for the many decades they were there at the top of that hotel food chain, they were helping themselves to a ton of kids. And that's what's being called out, because one day they will be in Lori Vallow's shoes. They will find themselves there very, very soon, coming to a courtroom near you.
Daughter and friend to many people. I have to take that into account. You've served a very long time of local jail, over 1,200 days, and the report is you've been a great inmate, never caused a problem for anyone in the jail. And you should be commended for that. And that also shows that you are capable of that. I believe your counsel, when they tell me you're an intelligent person, up until all these events began to transpire, you've achieved goals in your life, you've done important things in your life. And I'd note that despite some of the comments here today, I have found that during my interactions with you throughout this long case, including your trial, you've been respectful of the court. Do we know what this beeping is that keeps going off? Sorry.
As video podcasters, it's always so difficult to find
Oh,
software that does everything.
there
we
you
need,
go
but I
with
found Riverside, and it's
this part here, you guys. I don't know why they keep coming up, but next time, no. That she's remained respectful and that she's been nice and all of that. And you know what? I'm sure she has been, and I'm sure she's literally held her tongue back. And I invite all of you to Google the testimony that Debbie Cook was giving about herself. And it's like, these people know how to behave around people that are actually not defenseless. These people know that so well. I mean, you know, you talk to Debbie Cook and you would think she literally ran a legit operation and she has no clue that anything ever went wrong. I mean, just watch her spewing how wonderful it was the time that she was having there, how she was helping so many people there that you wouldn't even believe, right? So these characters, and you know, Marty Rathbun with all those interviews, I'm Marty, I know what the hell I'm talking about. And you know, the mainstream media could not be more gullible, naive, and dumb all at once, that can smell a rat, even though, I mean, mind you, again, Debbie Cook would run circles around Lori. I mean, Lori had 2 kids and Debbie Cook had senior citizens, adults, kids, minors. Everybody was under that woman. So let's just continue to contextualize, because Debbie Cook looks like a Lori Vallow-Daybell. You would never even think this middle-aged white woman, would you ever think that she would be so deranged and crazy and entitled and just literally nuts? No, oh no, everything was great and David Miscavige beat me and I'm just a little, pressed, but give me a settlement quickly, because I would have signed that I would have stabbed babies and liked it, is what Debbie Cook went for when she literally went on the stand to tell us, what in the hell she was doing there. It almost came out of her, but then she was like, oops, did I just say that? Oh, no. I mean, just like I would have and liked it, right? I would have signed that I stabbed babies. And then she's like, oops, and liked it just to get out of there, with my 50 grand check that I got out there with. And they told me my husband was also getting 50 grand. So for a combined 100 grand, I would have just signed anything, because I was, so upset that, David put me in the hole.
All right, the court will next consider, and I think it must be considered in mitigation, that you do have mental health issues. I've dealt with those throughout the context of this case where there were commitment proceedings. I've reviewed those reports and have that personal information from having gone through the determinations of whether or not you were competent or fit to stand trial. The most current diagnosis the court has is from Dr. Watson, and from February of this year states you suffer from, and I'll quote, delusional disorder, mixed type with bizarre content and hyper-religiosity, continuous and unspecified personality disorder with histrionic and narcissistic features.
Well, thank you to this court for finally calling out our parents. And when we talk about mental health and mental disorders, you guys, as much as we were given all manner of misinformation about what these labels mean and how they're so bad and they're trying to control you, Scientology doesn't want us anywhere near a mental health expert, because they are mandated reporters and they are trained to spot different things that people that are in the business of what they do in that hotel would not in a million years want to end up in a court mandated reporter, because that's when their whole stuff falls in a second. In a second, they're no longer going to be able to defend the indefenseless, right? And the only reason to get there is by actually allowing victims of domestic abuse, victims of systemic child trafficking, victims of literally SA, victims of all manner of felonies that took place at Debbie Cook's hotel. Every felony you can think of took place there. Every felony you can think of, they found out about because they were all about, let's find out everything. That was their very religious thing that they were, pretending they were so powerful to find out everything, and they were all about it. So I think it's important to understand that these labels aren't to judge them. They are for them to start coming to consciousness of the facts. Elven Hubbard made them hyper obsessed with this stuff, and it was is extreme gaslighting to the nth degree, and it's so toxic and disgusting that, again, it's like all we want is for those people to stop being told that Elven Hubbard is an American bred god, because that is the biggest lie on the books. And if Monique Yingling wants to start explaining what that little lie is about, it's all about, she's got a ton of retainer money she can just blow through the night. I'm sure that, if she just burns the midnight oil for a lot of nights, she would come up with some sort of BS pitch, because there is no way to defend the indefensible. Literally, there is none.
So obviously a very complex diagnosis that's been made here. Whether or not that can or how it would be treated, I think by all accounts is unknown at this time. I've reviewed your personal history, including statements from your own immediate family members, and it's clear that something radically changed in you that led you to where you are today.
So even there, she gets a little bit of grace. Something led to the place where she is today. He's not saying she's a murderer, even though she literally got convicted for that. But he's still giving her like, you got here somehow, somewhere. And, for all the Scientology parents, we'll give you that same amount of grace. You got there somewhere, somehow, because you believe the lies of the unindicted felon you decided to worship. And you decided to think that, you were so hooked up in that hotel. So think about really if you were getting hooked up, or literally what the hell, honestly. Ask yourself that. All Scientology parents should really start asking that of themselves before they want to speak about David, like shut the hell up about David and look at yourself about what you did to your own kids, like just in your own vicinity, like just your own. Start with that. And then think about what other ones you could have abused if you were a la Debbie Cook, one of these big executives that could be unhinged running around thinking they were getting somewhere in that hotel.
Statement made in the pre-sentence investigation report, your mother stated it perhaps best and said that you are not now, quote, the person she knew.
And how many times have we heard that even in our own families, you guys? Like so many family members knew that when these people went into these hotels, they came out different. And it's not just, so much of this brainwash, blah, 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 like all this stuff. It's like, it gets so trivialized, and it gets so ridiculously like tired. All these like brainwashed talking points and whatever. It's like, they got recruited into being part of a criminal racketeering conspiracy that literally runs circles around Lori Vallow-Daybell. She was one and another man. Just two. These people have an entire humongous hotel. Like, so just to juxtapose there. So what happened here with this woman is on the tiniest of minutest scales that you could possibly get to. So, yeah.
The record in this case, including all the evidence I observed during the jury trial, indicates that if it wasn't already occurring, that this relationship with the co-defendant seemed to be a catalyst for the change. At this point, I'll know.
And a catalyst for all our parents to change, you guys, was the relationship they formed, not with David Miscavige. David Miscavige is a nobody, remember. Like, he does nothing other than stay at that top of the food chain of the hotel and terrorize the people up there that are even of the caliber to get airtime with him, right? Because he's a big celeb. He wants to protect himself. Like, you can't really just go speak to him. You're just a nobody. But what about all the people here underneath? Everybody had forgotten about those. The Tampa Times couldn't care less about the people under here. Like, they're just obsessed with David. And, you know, like, literally just like, you know, like a dog that you give a treat to, and then all they can do is focus on the treat. And you try to call them, hey, over here. Shh. You won't get them at all.
Note that I will not be making comments on any other co-defendants in this case, as your co-defendant is currently presumed innocent and awaiting trial. And so,
Presumed innocent. And, you know, shout out to us, you guys. Guess who doesn't have to presume anything? Guess who had a front row seat at these hotels where we don't have to presume Debbie Cook innocent of anything? We already know she was running a racketeering felony laundering scheme with a bunch of co-conspirators she called juniors. With a bunch of co-conspirators she called her executives. With a bunch of co-conspirators that were willing to do all of that woman's deranged bidding without a shred of backflash, is what she would call it. If you said, no, Debbie Cook, I don't want to do what you're saying, it sounds illegal, backflash. Boom, just like that. Oh, never mind. That's all it took for that woman to erode anyone's critical thinkings in that hotel. So if that's not what you call the PIMP, then I would love to hear from PIMPs if that's not how you actually dehumanize your subjects underneath you. Just shout out euphemisms at them so you can control them like dogs. Backflash. Oh, never mind. So let's really contextualize the full thing here, because while Debbie Cook has had literally more than a decade since she's been on this little payment program of hers with Monique Yingling to wake up. And you know what? She could have been knocking on some doors, literally saying, I need to come clean. You know, that's what she used to tell us at the hotel. Come clean, come clean. You need to clean yourself. But you know what? She decided the second she walked out of that hotel, there was nothing for her to clean whatsoever. She forgot all about the technology of Elven Hubbard about writing down every single time you committed a felony. You know, she used to give it to someone that completed a 2-week course at a hotel and purport that was very religious, but she's been nowhere to be found in law enforcement to actually confess and to actually report what the hell she was doing. And she's like a blonde white lady that, you know, the courts couldn't wait to let her take the stand and tell us all how, you know, you were so inconvenienced in your last few weeks there, Debbie Cook, because that's all she cared to speak about. That's all she cared to wah about, because she had an agenda, and that agenda was, I want to collect checks. And if David is not leaving the hotel, then I want my checks. Because if David leaves, then I come back and I love it. But if he doesn't, then pay me my checks, or I'm going to continue crying on the stand, and I'll have all of ABC News giving me interviews. And, you know, they're my buddies there. My buddy Dan Harris, who can't ask a single question that means anything. He's so thitty-weedy, he can't even confront his own nose. Literally, like, doesn't matter that he gets paid 6 figures plus to sit in front of Debbie Cook and gain all manner of access, but he could not care any less. So yet again, we have to go and contextualize what in the hell is going on, because Lori Vallow and Debbie Cook might end up being friends. They might, you know, hook up and connect about, you know, how they're also hooked up with God and Elven Hubbard. Like, I'm sure they'll have jolly old conversations in that cell. I would pay to be a fly on the wall there.
There are significant mitigating factors the court has to consider here when I consider you and your life as a whole. and that does make the case difficult. Typically, when I see somebody to be sentenced and they don't have a prior criminal history, they're given opportunities to first prove themselves on probation or avoid a lengthy term of incarceration. However, of course, some crimes are so serious that even with mitigation, there is no other reasonable option except for a prison term and a long prison term. And sadly, you've been convicted of and have committed the most serious crimes possible, and those crimes also require an equally serious punishment. So this is the part where I will consider what I think are the factors in aggravation. I went through those factors in the statute that I look at, and as I'll explain, I find that 5 of those factors weigh against you and in favor of a lengthy period of imprisonment. First, the case itself. I'll discuss that. There was a lot of pretrial litigation in the case. You decided to take your case to a jury trial. I will state and emphasize that I firmly believe it's the right of every person in our country to exercise their right to a jury trial, and they're afforded the full due process of the law. It's been somewhat disheartening to me to realize that there are many people who think that they can predetermine a case and somebody shouldn't be afforded their full rights of due process before they are convicted of a crime. Well, I didn't make all of the rules that govern criminal cases, but I took an oath to uphold the rules that are there, and I make every effort to ensure that people's due process is protected, because that's an important duty of mine. Everyone has a right to be presumed innocent, and everyone in a criminal case does have a right to a jury trial. Sometimes I feel like maybe too many cases settle, and there should be more trials because it's a right people are entitled to exercise. You exercise that right, and I in no way hold it against you that you decided to have your case determined by a jury. That's your right, and it does not impact or influence my decision in sentencing.
And
Before
that's fine,
trial,
right, you
I
guys?
do not delve into all of the
Like,
evidence or facts of this case, and
You
only
can have
address
a
those when
jury
necessary.
trial and you can be found guilty based on the evidence collected. And I mean, lucky for Debbie Cook, she loved collecting evidence when she was there. Every single day she collected reports, every single day she collected evidence, every single day she was watching videos with her little remote control. Oh, and shout out to them for the little post-it notes, you guys, because that's how they would communicate with us, with little notes. Oh, ask him this. Oh, ask him that, passing notes and all of that. So yet again, it's like, you know, this law system that has failed us abysmally at every level, pretending that their job is just so hard. They just could not have more heavy lifting to do. Mind you, all they have to do is open Cook's PC folder warehouse and find every receipt that you can possibly imagine, because once again, going back to the arrangement of these people, the more they documented the abuse, the more they purported it to be legit. So yeah, she kept worksheets and contemporaneous notes. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a criminal case with more evidence than what these people have in these hotels, you guys, on literally every single one of their end users. Right? So let's not forget that Debbie Cook, Marty Rathbun, David Miscavige, Shelly Miscavige, they're all practicing a technology. So yet again, if a tech company grabbed all the end users' information and weaponized that against them and left it without a shred of privacy or autonomy, I mean, what in the literal hell are the top people at that food chain doing? And why are they not stopping themselves? That would be a very good question for all of them to ask themselves one of these days.
To make rulings on motions, because I wanted to keep objective through the proceedings and remain impartial. You were afforded all of your due process in this case, and ultimately, after presentation of the evidence, a jury did find you guilty.
So the jury finds her guilty, and she is guilty. And they do need the due process, and we do need them to turn over the files of every criminal thing they did on us so that they really can start facing the facts of their delusion. Because the children that have been through that hotel experience already know what it is. So we're going to know exactly when they're lying, exactly when they're deflecting, exactly when they're, giving part of it, but not the rest, talking about this, but not talking about that. And I get that these courts are very specific about the context of, oh, this is admissible, that's not admissible, blah, blah, blah. But you know where they lose a lot of that context, you guys? When they actually do realize that it's a full-blown racketeering scam. When racketeering comes into the place of what in the hell is going on in there, and they realize that this is nothing but organized crime at scale being subsidized by the IRS, who has a lot of answering to be doing to the courts, never mind, to every last minor that's been put through whatever it is that they said they recognize about the 501c that Monique pitched. So let's wait for, the little IRS commissioner to have his day in court. So I think the one that approved it is dead. But you know what? Somebody in there can start taking some accountability, because these people are still at it. And if they want to pretend that they have not a shred of a clue, that they don't audit their books, lucky for us, you guys. Oh my God. I mean, this is just so many gold nuggets that I can think of. Guess who was all about the audits of the IRS are coming, you guys? We need to go to Treasury. We need to put all the invoices together and make sure that everything looks very, very good and very, very clean and very, very polished. She literally had minors at Treasury doing this type of work, mind you, for 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. And when the IRS was about to come, oh, you guys all have to stay 25 hours, 24 hours, the whole night, all hands. This is a hill 10. This is a flap. So, right. So going back to, these people knew every single last damn criminal thing they were doing. So she plays damsel in distress very, very good. So anyone that has to deal with her, be warned.
I bring that up now because when there is a trial, I learn and see all of the facts along with the jurors. And that's a different scenario than when someone enters a plea and I'm only allowing argument in a sentencing and not sitting through the evidence as I did here. Having considered all of the evidence that I saw at trial along with the jurors, it's been a difficult task for me to narrow down and articulate all of the aggravating factors, because really there are so many here. Murder is the most serious offense. And the most unimaginable type of murder is to have a mother murdering her own children. And that's exactly what you did. You were involved in and guilty of conspiring to murder another
Not the volume. Sorry, guys.
group of children's mother, Tammy Daybell, who had children of her own. And despite the jury convicting you with overwhelming evidence, you still sit here before the court today and said you didn't do it. You came here to East Idaho, where I've spent my life, and moved here from another place already with plans in progress to make your children disappear. The evidence bore that out at trial. You removed your children from their home in Arizona, alienated them from friends and family, got rid of JJ's service dog.
Got rid of JJ's service dog, you guys. The level of alienation, right? This judge, he's so modest and so graceful, and that is how justice should be served, because nobody has to be dehumanized in order to serve justice. And that's how they ran the hotel, dehumanizing every last shred of humanity out of anybody that they were purporting to be practicing law without a license. So let's just really contextualize that, because, in the case of our situation, it's a little different.
You moved to Rexburg.
Oh, and just again about how, our parents alienated us from all our family members. The ones that were not in Scientology, don't talk to them anymore. Write them a disconnection letter, get rid of them. So they alienated us from anybody who could have smelled a rat. And, very much like my parents, they helped themselves. They were there to become financial benefactors of dumping a 15-year-old and coming completely washing their hands of a child, literally. And What happened to me is the example of what happened to all the kids, because this was systemic across the boards. And again, who ran that hotel for 17 plus years? Debbie Cook. Now, she's been replaced, you guys. So let's not forget that the insanity continues. And that's why we're here talking, right? Because it's not like Debbie Cook is such a wicked witch of the West that she couldn't be replaced. Oh my God, don't you worry. They have another person in there doing exactly what she was doing. So again, it's like we got to contextualize what in the literal hell.
A community where you could find 1,000 random families to take your children.
A community where you could find 1,000 random strangers to take care of your children. I wonder if that sounds like a Debbie Cook community too, you know, given that she did actually recruit a ton of minors and would have a ton of random strangers look after us. And for those parents that dumped us in hotels or that dumped us at the staff, you know, it sounds like pretty much like the judge is talking to our parents.
And you brought them here to murder them.
And we were brought there to be trafficked. That's the only difference. They weren't there for us to get murdered. We wouldn't have been making money for them murdered. These people like their money. They wanted our youth. They wanted our looks. They wanted our intelligence. And they wanted us to be useful. So Debbie Cook and all of them were all about keeping us alive. You know, they needed us alive because how else were they going to make their money and targets, right? Like if without the kids, they cannot make money. So that's not good for Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook likes money. Money, money, money. That's all she cares about. That's her God, really.
You had so many other options. You could have gotten divorced. You could have found someone to take care of those kids. But as the state was able to prove at trial, you chose the most evil and destructive path.
Most evil and destructive path, you guys. I think let's highlight, underline, circle in red. The most evil and destructive path is what all of our parents that trafficked us in those hotels chose for themselves.
Possible. You killed those children, according to the state's theory, and I believe it, to remove them as obstacles and to profit financially.
Well, Judge, if I could just interrupt you for a second, shout out to us. The same thing happened to us. Like what you just said is the exact same thing that happened to us.
You justified all of this by going down a bizarre religious rabbit hole, and clearly you are still down there.
And clearly Debbie Cook is still down there in her religious rabbit hole, you guys, that has landed her with only the capacity and the bandwidth to cash checks for herself. Her and her buddy Marty Rathbun, they give each other calls. Hey, what's up? Did you cash your check? Yeah, I cashed it. Great, me too. Oh, let's call Angie Blankenship too. Hey, what's up, Angie? And let's call Pilar Saldarriaga too. Hey, what's up, Pilar? Are you also getting paid? Oh, no, you were super rich before you came into the Sea Org, right? Your Colombian dad, Saldarriaga from Colombia, that was a millionaire. Why was he such a millionaire, Pilar? Would he have anything weird going on that he made him all those millions by chance? And where the hell are you now, Pilar? All manner of women that have been nowhere to be found in the last how many years, you guys? They don't want to whistle blow for nothing, because come to find out, we've been finding on the D-Low that, you know, give it up for Attorney Monique Yingling and David to go crisis manage like crazy, rabid, insane people, make them all sign contracts, put them all on a payroll system, give them checks every month, make sure they all stay quiet, make sure they sign all our NDAs. Let's keep it all very legal and above ground, right? That's the stack of little NDAs they have for themselves. Yep. Is that executive on it? Yep. Is that executive on it? Yep. Is that who's not on it? Oh, turns out just like who? Mike Rinder, Who else is not on the payroll to not talk? Because do we think that only Debbie Cook left and Marty Rathbun and that's it? And after that, for the last how many years, no one has left this horrific, disgusting hotel? You couldn't be more wrong. It's all being crisis managed, and you don't give these people enough credit. Give credit when they're due. They're so good at crisis management. I mean, they're effective AF at crisis management, you guys. 73 years later, they run the most disgusting operation. Ghislaine Maxwell is literally right now rolling on the floor because somehow she's going to find out that all her and Jeffrey had to do was call up Monique Yingling and be like, yo, can you hook us up too with the IRS? I'm about to write a book. Literally, let's go write a book. Let's call ourselves the Religious Massagers, the Church of, Jeffrey and Ghislaine, because in Florida, you can get away with it. In Florida, they will let you. They will just be like, oh, we're so respectful in this state of Florida. We're just very respectful. We wouldn't want to disrespect anybody. We're so respectful, Never mind that this is not a conspiracy theory. Never mind that this is actually something that is going on, but nobody would know in Florida what in the hell is going on, right? Like nobody has a clue there.
While you were enjoying your new life in Hawaii, countless law enforcement officers, family members, and volunteers were searching for your children. I don't think to this day you have any remorse for the effort and heartache you caused for others who looked for your children when you knew where they were and knew they were dead. They were found dead, burned, mutilated, and dismembered, and buried like animals. After you knew they were dead, you collected public-funded assistance payments meant for them, and that was blood money you kept for yourself. And that's...
Well, guess who was after collecting blood money for herself too, you guys? Turns out Debbie Cook was all about that, because every time she found out that this happened in her hotels, which, if my 2 cents help for anything, when you are a kid, and we all know what this means, right? And you know what do to a you-know-what kid, when that happens, it's as if they killed you, right? Like you literally, your body is in so much shock, your nervous system goes on overdrive, you disassociate at a level that there's nothing else in the world that I can even remotely think about comparing it to, because nothing like that has ever happened to me since I left that goddamn hotel. So only what happened to me there can I have any sort of equivalency. And that is the point, when all of these kids are being out to eat in a major way in that hotel, and Debbie Cook is just going around getting people to pay her to, get sec checked. Let's get you your sec check. And then you're going to float, and then you're going to be fine. You're going to find your evil purpose. And, we're going to tell you, you're going to tell us how you were just confused. I mean, imagine that is the level of derangement and premeditation of this Cook woman. Daddy Elven Hubbard wrote this stuff. It makes so much sense. I'm all about it. I love it. I'm going to sell it to every last self-admitted felon, because you know what? If they tell me every detail and we float it on this machine that we purport is very important and scientifical, even though don't say scientific, is religion. Remember, don't say technology unless you're inside the hotel. But every time you leave the hotel, just go church, 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 church. And then everybody's critical thinking skills will be compromised the minute we just drop the word ecclesiastical. They literally go, okay, I can't think anymore. Like literally, I am about to collapse. So yeah, that's where we are today. Shout out to Florida.
While you were in the jail, during phone calls I heard at trial, and those were very sad and difficult calls to hear. And you didn't provide any assistance or comfort to them. During the trial, when the evidence came out about how these children were found and the state they were in, you wanted to be excused and not have to watch the evidence, and we're fine to let all the other people in the courtroom, including the jurors, have to bear through that. However, I ruled that you did have to sit and watch and see the result of your heinous crimes. The jurors in your case fulfilled their duty admirably. All 18 jurors we had, because we had alternates, went through the entire trial and faithfully fulfilled all their obligations and all the instructions. So we were able to get impartial jurors who weren't already tainted by pretrial publicity to decide your case. And I do thank the jurors publicly for the service they rendered. Those jurors I noted during the trial were very good at keeping their emotions in check and keeping stone-faced as they're supposed to do and be objective until the case is done and submitted. However, I did note at certain times during the trial, such as when there were videos and pictures shown of you in Hawaii at this time frame when JJ and Tylee were lying in shallow graves, the disgust on the faces of those jurors was evident, and shocking revelations about what happened here just kept coming through the trial. The crime scene was a horrific thing to have to review.
And you guys, just so you understand something that we need to advocate for in terms of what we're talking about, minors being exposed to this. The problem is, we look like nothing happened, right? Like the wounds are not visible. The burns are nowhere to be found. That's why the police, the Clearwater police, plays dumb with us when we go there and sit there for 10 hours and they're like, oh yeah, we found nothing. Yeah, no, we found nothing. But good luck next time. Maybe your next lifetime, you'll, find out what happened, that you pulled this all in for yourselves because, you deserve it because your parents were practicing a religion is what we're being told.
And there's images that I will never get out of my mind. And I'm just looking.
Imagine that in Debbie Cook's hotel, you guys, these people have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions and hundreds of recorded video of every last thing. Imagine what kind of degenerate you would have to be to sit behind a screen listening and watching a literal minor be, ask questions, this, that, the minor's crying, don't ask me these questions anymore, please make it stop. No, clean yourself. You need to look, you need to confront. I'm going to repeat the question, repeat. Please stop, don't ask. No, doesn't matter. You have to like it. You're not getting out of here until you show us that you like it. So again, it's like, how are our jurors when they finally get the evidence, when the police actually starts doing their job, when they actually have to watch the tapes to see what these people were all about? Very a la Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, blackmail tapes all over the place, cameras inside. People know that their cameras are there, but you know what? They don't know when the cameras are going to be turned on because they get told this is just for quality assurance. Don't you worry. We're just checking the technology, making sure that the technology's kept working. Because never mind that their technology is so dysfunctional, it has to always be kept working. Like, keep the technology working, keep Scientology working. So yeah, we're just going to look into these videos and, that's not going to function as blackmail for nobody, right? Again, Jeffrey Epstein is literally rolling in his grave right now and being like, what an idiot I was. I almost got away with it. I did it in Florida. I recruited high schoolers. I had all manner of blackmail on all manner of people, but then these girls, damn it, they got to it. And the only difference between the Epstein girls and us, you guys? Their parents took them to the police. And shout out to the Palm Beach police who took the case seriously, despite Jeffrey Epstein being some big hoo-ha. They literally were like, well, these girls are telling us this stuff. We have to go do a job that we're getting paid and subsidized, you know, because Palm Beach does pay us to do a job. Well, in Clearwater, that doesn't matter. The chief of police at Clearwater could not care any shred less, right? Like, he gets subsidized. Clearwater, pay your taxes, pay my salary. I'm keeping the community safe AF. Yep. Everything is great here in Clearwater. It's wonderful. We're also doing so great. So let's really kind of juxtapose that law enforcement side yet again, because the evidence that these people collected on themselves proves beyond a reasonable doubt that they were all in and knew everything. How are they going to say plausible deniability applies when we had it all recorded, when we had it all written down, when we were all watching, when we were all grading? Oh yeah, you guys don't. This is why I was such a superstar there, okay? For this. This is why I was such a superstar, because I would get very well done, Serge. You just spent 8 hours interrogating that adult and you got him to admit all manner of felonies. Wow, you're a prodigy. You're just such a great auditor. You're so good at this, Serge. You're so amazing. Now ask him if he ever put a banana up his you-know-what, is what they would tell me in my ear as I had to sit there very calmly, no judgment. Okay, I will repeat the auditing question. Is there something you're withholding that you don't want us to know about? What is that? What is that you're looking at right there? Yes, Serge, go, interrogate him. Check, check, check. Follow that dirty needle. Follow that dirty needle. It's dirty, clean it. So before anybody wants to say we were religious, we never went like this, ever. In all the years that we were there. Debbie Cook didn't believe in putting your hands together and, you know, having a little moment to yourself. She was extremely pressed to make her $2 million a week we were supposed to make for her. So yeah, the millions had to come in, because let's not forget the amount of millions that these people connect to the crimes. I mean, literally, like, you couldn't connect a crime more. Like, children, present. Millions, present. Evidence collected. Video recordings of everything right here. Everything is there. So interesting, right? Interesting hotel from hell.
Looking at the pictures, law enforcement officers who had to deal with the aftermath of what you did, I'm sure were traumatized. And I know it was traumatic as well for the jurors who had to sit through and see the photographs of these dead and mutilated and buried children.
You know who's going to be traumatized, you guys, when they actually start doing a job, is the people that are going to have to figure out what in the hell type of corruption they got going on in that Clearwater Police Department, that they would just be so paralyzed and so literally neutered, because the kids that are taking the grunt of their stupidity are the ones that are victimized, the ones that are being locked up in rooms as we speak, the ones that are being sent to ethics because you complain. What the hell are you complaining about? You signed up in your contracts. Like, what the fuck did you think it was? Don't come to us now complaining. Like, where is your Sea Org? Make it go right. Right? So these people just, again, like, with expletives every other word, your fucking ethics in, get your fucking manners in, stop fucking backflashing. Like, the F word was used every other word by people like Debbie Cook when she was having her little power trips. Now, not always, right? Because sometimes she was like, oh my God, welcome to Flag. If you see her little videos, she's like, welcome to Flag, you guys. Like, can't wait to see you come climb up this bridge, right? Just like, welcome, everybody, come in. But then lock the door, put a minor there, and then she would just have her way with them. And since they were slaves, they couldn't backflash, they couldn't say no, they couldn't say, stop yelling at me, crazy ass, deranged, entitled, disgusting woman. What in the hell did you just call me? You just committed out etiquette. You're not having your etiquette. So you now are a complete degraded being because you didn't respect me. Imagine being Debbie Cook, that she would chastise and yell and scream at a minor that didn't say sir. Like if you just said, no, Debbie, I'm not getting my stats up this week. Like I'm literally so tired. You didn't call me sir. You call me Debbie? Who in the hell do you think you are, you child degraded piece of trash, non-productive stat crash? I mean, literally.
For those people who loved and cared about JJ and Tylee and Tammy Daybell, to have to see those photographs of them through trial, their dead and desecrated bodies, must have been devastating. Tammy Daybell was murdered as a result of your conspiracy. She was, by all accounts, a healthy, happy mother and wife through a lot of her life. And you were out shopping for wedding rings to marry her husband while she was still alive. You were planning a wedding to her husband while she was still alive. You haven't shown any remorse for any of those actions. And
see, no remorse. And did you guys catch that little word that the judge said? Conspiracy. She was engaged in a conspiracy, right? So let's just literally, you guys, ask ChatGPT, what is a criminal conspiracy? Asking for a friend. So here you go, Debbie Cook. A criminal conspiracy refers to an agreement between two or more individuals to commit an unlawful act or to achieve an unlawful objective through unlawful means. In a criminal conspiracy, the participants work together, either explicitly or implicitly, to plan or execute an illegal activity. To establish a criminal conspiracy, several key elements need to be present. Number one, agreement. There must be an agreement or understanding between two or more individuals to engage in illegal conduct. This agreement can be either explicit or implied, and all parties involved must be aware of the willing participating in the plan. Number two, intent. The parties must have the intent to commit the criminal act or achieve the unlawful object. Intent is a crucial element and must be proven to demonstrate the existence of a conspiracy. Well, guess how easy it would be to prove intent in our case, you guys? I mean, literally, you go get a session. We just found out from this other man that you know what to you, so you now go get interrogated. Blah, 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 comes out with this. Right? So then Debbie Cook finds out all about this thing. And now, what is it about intent? The parties must have the intent to commit the criminal act or achieve the unlawful objective. Well, what do you think Debbie Cook was trying to do after she found out this? Right? Oh, ship that child back to another country because we wouldn't want to be having any problems here. So that's easy to intent right here. They were informed ad nauseum. Every last shred of detail is known. And then they go have a little meeting and then, oh yeah, let's just displace the child, displace the person, cover it all up. Like it's just another good day at our hotel. Let's go grab more minors because you know what? Those failed us already. Let's go grab other ones that are not malfunctioning. Because it was literally like they purported, you guys, that the minors that are going out to D had a malfunction in them. You are the disgusting one. We told you not to be out to D. We told you this is the most elite environment in the world. How dare you go out to D is what they would tell you. And you know who was a favorite fan of that? Angie Blankenship. And she's not talked about enough, but she was Debbie Cook Sr., okay, you guys? And that woman was obsessed with finding which minors were doing what. She didn't give a shred of an F about any boundaries. That woman knew no boundaries, none. She was like, who went out to eat? What did they do? Go get them sec check. Go get them interviewed. Bring them here. Let's get them interrogated. Let's find out everything. Let's watch the videos. Let's all stay up, you guys. 5 hours of sec check. Let's all watch. and pass little notes around. Oh, did you get that he was also doing this to him and that? And then they also took the pants off, and then they also did this, and then they also took that out. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Isn't it disgusting? They're so out ethics. They're so bad. They're so gross. They're so disgusting, these kids. Like, what in the hell they're doing? You know, they're not upholding the ethics of the Sea Org. But never mind, you guys, that guess how Angie Quirino Blankenship left the Sea Org. Oh yeah, you guessed it. She went and had sex with someone on her way out. But never mind that she still collects checks from these people, because, you know, her and Debbie Cook and Dave and all that, like this. They were all so tight. The little criminal conspiracy, back to that. Overt act. In some jurisdictions, in certain legal systems, an overt act is required to demonstrate that the conspiracy is more than a mere discussion or planning and has moved towards action. Well, aren't we in luck, you guys? Overt act. These people were overt AF. Like, there's not a shred of, it all happened by mistake. We had no idea. You had no idea about anything. We didn't know. We were just so clueless. We thought we were floating something. We thought we were getting somewhere. We were getting money out of the person, the adult that told us, that self-admitted on himself, that thought, hey, today is a great day to do this. Today is just the perfect day for my Fifth Amendment right to go like this. Because this is how much I care about self-incrimination. If I just go to Debbie Cook's hotels, I can live it up and self-admit on myself, and it's all gone. Technology of Elven Hubbard, you guys. Isn't it so great? Isn't the technology of Elven Hubbard just so wonderful? And these people are just can't wait to pay enough to incriminate themselves, because that's really going to get him somewhere, apparently. You know, we can't stop hearing about the raving successes they all had when they were there, until Dave ruined the party for some of them.
She ended up being murdered, buried, had to be disinterred later so an autopsy could be performed in order to prove the evidence of what you had done. She didn't deserve any of that.
And we didn't deserve any of what happened to us either, you guys. And the only autopsy these people need to do is go find our folders. Everything they did to us is there. Every last contemporaneous note that was written on the day that that abuse took place. So let's not get it twisted yet again with all of these law enforcement pretending they cannot investigate themselves out of a paper bag with all their guns and their bullets and their shields and all of that. They can't even go inside a hotel, a literal hotel that is in the business of, you know, helping people like Debbie Cook run her little scam ad nauseum 24/7.
You took her life away. You destroyed that family, fractured it to the point where, in the information I've had through the PSI, there are relationships that will probably never be mended that have rippled as a result.
Well, shout out to this judge telling our story, you guys. Like, they took our entire formative years, these people, to pimp us, to the people that wanted to pay for us to sit there and listen to their disgusting things. So let's start with that, right? And then relationships that cannot be mended. I cannot have a shred of a relationship with Pedro Gil and Sandra Gil, who are the benefactors of my child trafficking. That little relationship is shredded, done, gone into the wind. I wouldn't put up with it. I have boundaries now. I have standards. I don't let people run all over me and gaslight me ad nauseum. I learned my lessons well. Like Madonna said, hope to live. And here I am telling the secret. That was one of my favorite songs as a child. So it's funny that it came in handy right here.
Of what's happened. JJ and Tylee, of course, 7 years old, 16 years old, were separate people whose lives were cut way too short because of you. Never got to grow up and be adults.
In our case, guys, we didn't ever got to be kids. Literally, like these people ran us like we were adults since the single first second that we came out. And that is just unthinkable. And the fact that it has been trivialized by the likes of the Tampa Bay Times and the likes of ABC News and the likes of Disney and the likes of A&E and the likes of all manner of people that purport that really want to tell the story and want to talk about what is it like to be in a cult. We keep being spoken to like we're some specimen that came out of some fucking sewer and how was it there? How did it feel? But you can't complain about anything because it was all just a very American experience that you were having there. You should really thank the Constitution that didn't abolish slavery. I mean, that abolished slavery, but we don't give an F about. So either way, it doesn't matter.
The family and friends who have provided their impact statements, of course, have stated it better than I could about who they were. And it is a loss for everyone that you took them away from this world.
One day they will continue to hear our impact statements, guys. And this is a way to tell our impact statements, since the court keep telling us that we don't have a case and that nothing can be done and everything is great and just go back to your thing and stop making a fuss about this. Well, you know what? No. You stop doing your job. You stop enforcing the law. Don't come to us with critiques about how we should say this and say that. We couldn't give less of a shred. Like, this is what we do with your notes. You want us to stop speaking? There. We're done. Literally, we could not care any less. You don't control us whatsoever. Not at all. Not even a shred of control over our emotions. We got protection. We got security. We got cybersecurity. We got attorneys. We got private investigators. We have private people at the law enforcement that do want to do a job that we do have on speed dial in case anybody shows up trying to do anything. God forbid. You'll be sorry to be showing up unannounced and whatever and threatening and doing all manner of disgusting stuff. Like, you will be met with not that child you used to abuse there anymore. You'll be met with us now. And we have each other's backs, and there's a ton of back channel communication that is going on that you wouldn't have a shred of a clue about. Who's talking to us, who's not talking to us, and what kind of receipts they're coming with. So, yeah, for all of you that want to fair game us and continue to intimidate us with your tactics that are so clown, it's not even funny. Wake up to the facts and go knock on the door of the Department of Justice and be like, yo, can we cut a deal? Open the books. Here they are. Here we go. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. Ask Monique. She's the one that said everything was fine. She's the one that put her law license on the line. Right or wrong? Monique. Aren't you sustaining Elven Hubbard's entire legacy as a 501c on your law license? Or no? Is that someone else?
And it is the most shocking thing, really, I can imagine, is that a mother killed her own children.
It's the most shocking thing that parents child traffic their own kids, you guys. Literally, it's shocking. It's unthinkable. It's like, why in the hell did this happen? Like, it doesn't make sense. Were my parents really wanted to be that deranged, or were they lured? Well, does it even matter? Not really. Today, it's totally irrelevant. What was done is done. Is water under the bridge. We couldn't give less of a shred about that. The only thing we're here having to talk and force these people to stop playing dumb with us. That's the only reason you're seeing us appear. Because we're done playing games with people that are playing dumb to not do a job that they get paid to do. It's just really, literally that simple. It doesn't get more easy than that.
And you simply have no remorse for it. Even sitting here today, there's no remorse.
Shout out to Debbie Cook, who has no remorse. Shout out to Marty Rathbun, that has no remorse. Shout out to my own parents who have no remorse. Shout out to every last shred of Scientology parent that has been told that everything they're doing is just fine and don't have remorse because, why have remorse when you can just float it in a session that you pay $10,000 to receive, and it really works apparently, because they ask John Travolta how much it's worked for him.
For what you did. After all of this evidence through trial, you haven't shown any remorse. You haven't said you're sorry. You haven't done anything to seek leniency from this court. There's been a lot of people during trial and here who have explained the devastation you're responsible for, and you've forever altered the lives, not in a good way, for many, many people, destroying family relationships, taking people away that were loved, cared for, and needed. You may not believe to this day that you've done anything wrong, and you still may think you're justified by your religious beliefs for what happened here. I'm not here to judge that, but I don't believe that any God in any religion would want to have this happen, what happened here. And your crimes are heinous and egregious, and that alone can constitute a major aggravating factor that requires me to impose a serious length of incarceration.
And I couldn't agree with the judge more, you guys. And the problem with our rhetoric that is different than every last shred of rhetoric that we getting told is very religious is the policies of Elven Hubbard dictated what the derangement was. Elven Hubbard didn't give a shred of a fuck about their end users. He was like, become me, y'all. Don't you want to be like me? Don't you want to be deranged and unhinged and not give a shred of a fuck and just, data mine disgusting information out of people and just trauma bond them and make them dependent on us and humiliate them and exploit them and take more money and put them under your thumb and squash them and squeeze them. And I mean, I know I go on here about all the kids, but never mind that we also have to witness all the adults be abused, you guys. And, again, it's like we had to witness it. We didn't get a choice of like, oh, do you want to witness or not witness? There was no consent on our part, going back to why we are advocating for 21 and over. And then every last shred of senior, like Liz Ferris, who should be supported in her GoFundMe, since we do need resources to get these people out of there. We need to extract them somehow, like senior citizens, like my grandmother that died in Debbie Cook's hotels because she wouldn't let her go to check her breasts when she saw that she had a lump. Never mind that she was Debbie Cook's slave for 10 years, my grandma, and she didn't join to be a disgusting degenerate. But never mind that she was scammed too, because, the courtrooms with dolls and clay and everyone's so happy and everything's so great. But it's like, my grandma didn't sign up for that. And, she was a senior citizen that needed rescuing out of there. I remember going to the hotel and her eyes, like she had no sleep. She was like all like this. And, she was like not the grandma that I used to know when she was in Mexico living her own life and being autonomous. So when Debbie Cook had her way with her and enslaved her in that hotel, like she depersonalized my grandma and then killed her because it was too inconvenient for Debbie Cook to send my grandma to the doctor. Like, you know what? There's no one to replace you right now. So, just stop dramatizing your case and, you'll feel fine. It's probably nothing. So just keep going. Then it was stage 4. Then she had no option to remove the breast. Then she was dead 3 months later. And, let's just throw her ashes to the sea because, that's just a great idea. Let's get rid of her. And who's next? Who else in the family can we recruit? I mean, literally, that's the name that this woman gave to her thing.
So after weighing all those factors, I need to, in aggravation, I find that the sentences I'm about to impose will serve the interest of justice by, number one, preventing you from ever doing this again. That they will not depreciate the seriousness of your crimes, will punish you appropriately, and will serve to deter both you and others. So the concludes the
Deter that to do to you and others. So, yes, courts of Florida, stop pretending that Debbie Cook has such a tight deal with Monique Yingling that no one can go knock on her door. Hello, is anyone here? Oh, hi, Debbie Cook. Can you sit down? Can you ask us how many minors were there when you were there? How many did you recruit personally? How many did you make auditors? How many did you make ethics officers? What kind of responsibilities were you giving the ethics kids? What kind of responsibilities were you giving the auditors that were kids? What kind of responsibilities were you giving the supervisors that were kids? How were you treating the cadets? Kids, 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 kids. This is all about one single goddamn thing. Kids. Stop asking about CNU. Stop asking about every last nauseating, stupid, altered importance point that has nothing to do with advocating for a defenseless kid that's literally in the hands of these deranged, abominable degenerates that are all about role-playing. They're Elven Hubbard, hoo-ha. You know, we as the kids don't have to be respectful to their stupidity. We've carried their water our entire life. If they don't like our tone, if they don't like what we're saying, they should have looked in the mirror and made sure they weren't using kids to do what it is that they do. They could have literally just put, and if Monique Yingling, you guys, would have done a shred, just literally like this much of due diligence, just so you hear what it sounds like, Monique. If she would have just done that and she would have said, Dave, this is very crazy, but you know what, Monique Yingling, I'm very, very smart. And I did go to a top training school in America that hasn't, you know, questioned my law license in any way. Because, you know, shout out to the state bar in DC, who's literally giving this legal Frankenstein a license to operate her sham prestigious, highly prestigious law firm that is in the business of trafficking kids at scale, that could have literally just a shred of due diligence with Elven Hubbard and been like, you know what, but let's just make it 21. 21 years you have to be to sign our consents. And you know what? Who in the hell is gonna care then? You're 21. You could sign up for Monique's crazy ass deranged things. Don't tell us that they didn't know, you guys, because they did know. They did love these sadistic sessions and tortures, and they were all about it. Some of them, a lot of them. I mean, still go back to those Debbie Cook interviews and see how much she thinks that this was just all so great. And if it wasn't for David, we would have just been doing just fine. He just ruined the fun.
aggravating factors the court considered. At this time, then, I am prepared to pronounce sentence. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Archibald.
Here's the sentence incoming, you guys.
Pronouncement of sentence.
Stand up, Lori. Oops. Just before we were going to be given the sentence, you guys. I mean, I pray for the day that accountability comes to the table. I'm not here to have to figure out whether Debbie Cook has to sit doing whatever it is that she needs to do, and whoever else is doing it right now. More importantly, who in the hell is running that hotel right now? I can only speak to Debbie Cook. That's the one I firsthand witnessed. I mean, I'm not going to speak about what in the hell whoever replaced her is doing now. Mind you, they all pay to be this carbon copies. That's all they are, carbon copies of each other. So why am I still screaming about Debbie Cook? Because I know whoever replaced her, you guys, had to be a carbon copy. If they weren't a carbon copy, guess what? You're not going to last a second being the captain of the hotel. You come in there like Mother Teresa and say, oh, you guys, we shouldn't yell anymore. And if somebody can't complete something, let's sit down and let's all work it out to like figure it out. What the hell are you? You're just a thiety-weety. Get the hell out of here. Stop being so thiety-weety and start actually confronting. And don't you know the whole world's going to end tomorrow? Yeah, sure, Debbie Cook. It's about to end. Here's the sentence.
And recommendations presented in court today, it's the judgment of this court. Ms. Vallow, you'll be sentenced as follows.
As follows.
First note, I'm going to take up the counts out of order as I want to address the substantive murder sentences first. So on count 2, the charge you were convicted of, the first degree murder of Tylee Ryan, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence of fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. On count 4, the charge of the first degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate life imprisonment sentence with no possibility of parole. I'll next address the 3 conspiracy counts you've been convicted of. And note under Idaho Code 18-1701, the punishment for those crimes is the same as the underlying offenses you combined to commit. One of the offenses you combined to commit was first degree murder, so those may be punishable also by imprisonment for life. When I look at what the appropriate sentences should be for the conspiracy charges, at first I wondered if they should be as long of a term or serious as the substantive murder charges. However, what I've concluded is that these conspiracy convictions merit the same grave punishment for several reasons. First, the conspiracies in which you engaged in have had far-reaching impacts on many people besides the deceased victims. And with what the court's heard, I am convinced that the conspiracy charges also merit the same serious sentence. So on count 1, the conspiracy to commit first degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception, you're sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term.
You guys, I think that little sentence, by deception, embezzlement by deception, Debbie Cook, go take a look in the mirror and see if you have any conspiracies of embezzlement by deception, because it wasn't just that you were into abducting minors out of their houses. It was also that you were into embezzling at scale to pad up your stats, right? Because you really wanted to help the world, padding up the millions. And also on this count of conspiracy, you guys, just to finish what ChatGPT was telling us, and so Debbie Cook can literally get it through her thick head. Criminal conspiracy laws vary from one jurisdiction to another, but generally they cover a wide ranging of illegal activities, including but not limited to organized crime, drug trafficking, child trafficking, terrorism, financial crimes, and other serious offenses. It's essential to differentiate between a criminal conspiracy and a mere agreement to commit a crime. A conspiracy involves a shared plan and mutual understanding among participants, while a mere agreement may only indicate a general intention without a specific plan or joint or effort to commit the illegal act. So there we go, Debbie Cook. You are literally the poster child of this word. Conspiracy, because that's what y'all were doing, agreeing, making all manner of agreements, hooking each other up in all manner of ways, data mining all manner of felonies, normalizing it all for yourselves, monetizing every time you found a horrific, disgusting, self-admitted Class A felony. You know, you took it upon yourself to not send them to the Clearwater Police. So that little talking point that Osa's got going on, that, oh yeah, we always do the legal thing. Well, how are there this many reports at the Clearwater Police, Osa? Look, data. Do you see how I put the little thing there? So you guys can start seeing I am speaking to you without speaking to you. Zero reports of anything to any of these police departments. You know how easy it would be, you guys, to be like the LAPD. You guys, this is an amazing church. They bring people to us and they're like, yep, this man did this, did that. Here's the folders. Here's the check sheets. Here's the videos that we have with him self-admitted and saying every last nauseating detail. Here's everything for you. Do what you need to do. You know, we tried to help him, but we know that's not for us. That's no. Don't get it twisted whatsoever. It is for them. That is their shtick. You got something going on? Let's float it. Ask Danny Masterson. Write him a letter in jail. Anybody that wants to ask him. And be like, Danny, why did you go there to the hotel a few blocks away from your house after having that party? And who did you talk to again? Miranda Scoggins. And how old was Miranda? Because, you know, before we ever just think that it's Debbie Cook and Debbie Cook and Debbie Cook. Well, you know what? Let's start talking about someone else that's not Debbie Cook. Let's talk about someone completely different that is so relevant to this conversation. Is not even funny, you guys. And his name is none other than David Pettit. Dave Pettit. Okay, he's the COCC International. So don't get it twisted with David Miscavige that's been said ad nauseum. Yes, this is another David. His name is David Pettit. He's been there for decades. He's the one that controls and runs all the celebrities as his slaves in that hotel. He pretends he's just like Debbie Cook, a captain of something. And this man, you guys, put Miranda Scoggins, the girl that was there to arbitrate between all the women that were going there screaming, help me, for crying out loud. This happened. Like, how in the hell did this happen? And, you know, Miranda Scoggins, you guys, she was sent to Debbie Cook's hotel to train with me. She was a student and she was a young minor. So whatever the hell they trained her to say in those ethics interviews, trust me, she had not a shred of a clue what she was doing. Just like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Just like all of us didn't know what the hell we were doing. It was so confusing, dumb, and deranged and crazy. But, you know, we got into a lot of trouble if there was any shred of pushback. If we said no, if we said this is weird, if we said what the hell am I doing talking to Denny? Shouldn't he go to the police and just talk to them and sort it out and figure it out? And that's what's so sick about the cycle of abuse, you guys, because had they done that with Danny the first time he fell on his face and did this, which happens to find out I was with the first girl he did this to. And before you get too shocked about what the hell am I talking about, yes, a girl that was a minor that did a film with Danny called none other than this, you guys. Use of a doll in session. Going back to how Debbie Cook ran her hotel by stuffing every last grooming salon with dolls and clay so that it looked very childlike and very, you know, nothing to see here. Nothing weird would be happening if, you know, adults are sitting in front of kids and telling them, I want to rape you. And, well, whatever. That doesn't matter. You just flunk. You reacted. I'm going to say it again. This is just a drill. Just chill. Don't take it personal. It's what would be going on in these hotels and these grooming salons of Debbie Cook. So use of a doll in session. There she is. This girl goes and does this technical film, this grooming of the unthinkable film is what Elven Hubbard was all about. And that's when it first happened with Danny, that he was actually doing, you know what, to this minor in this case. But never mind. Debbie Cook came to the rescue. Carol Masterson came to the rescue. Dave Pettit came to the rescue. All his handlers came to the rescue. And do not get it twisted for one shred of a second. I'm not going to advocate for Danny Masterson and what in the hell he did. I'm going to contextualize what no one is talking about, since I had the utter unthinkable, horrible thing of going to that courtroom and seeing Carol Masterson there and seeing Danny and understanding right quick that the roles should be flipped, or they should both be on that seat awaiting the charges. giving that, isn't it called, what is it called? Is it called aiding and abetting, you guys? Is that what it's called when you literally find out every last shred of information in a criminal conspiracy of a cover-up, for example? Like if you're just literally finding out every detail of a felony and you just play dumb? Let's ask ChatGPT again. What is aiding and abetting? Abetting. What is it? Aiding and abetting, also known as accessory liability or complicity, refers to the act of assisting, facilitating, or encouraging another person to commit a crime. In legal terms, an individual who aids and abets a crime can be held criminally liable for their involvement, even if they did not directly commit the offense themselves. To establish aiding and abetting, certain elements must be demonstrated. So let's see if this applies to you, Carol Masterson. Number 1, knowledge. Oops, that one applies. The person must have knowledge what the primary perpetrator intends to commit, that the primary perpetrator intends to commit a crime. This means they are aware of the criminal act that is being planned or committed. Well, Carol wouldn't say that she knew in advance. I'm sure Danny wasn't going to say, well, Mom, tonight's the night that I'm going to go out today. That's all he would have had to say in code to get away with it. But, let's give them the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't that overt about it. Number 2, intent. The person must have the intention to help or encourage the commission of the crime. Their actions must be done purposely to support or facilitate the criminal act. Well, it was facilitated to the degree that it was laundered in a way that is unthinkable. So I don't know. For any of you lawyers out there, I don't know if that applies. Maybe not. Assistance or encouragement. The person must provide some form of assistance, support, or encouragement to the primary perpetrator in carrying out the criminal act. This assistance can be in the form of providing resources, advice. Oh, there you go, guys. Looks like that one definitely applies. Tools or any other means that aids in the commission of the crime. Well, would we consider advice saying, go help yourself, commit whatever class A felony you want to do, and then go float it? Floating needle, because that's all it takes about to, liberate yourself to whatever degree of place Elven Hubbard takes you when you tell him everything. And number 3, assistance or encouragement. Did we read that one already? I think we did. Yeah. Participation. The person's involvement must be significant contribution to the crime's occurrence. Mere passive knowledge or presence is generally not enough to establish aiding and abetting. So if Carol Masterson found every last shred of nauseating detail of her son having this problem when he was still a minor or just about coming out of being a minor, because I think that she was a minor and he wasn't. That's why she was chipped off to across state lines, going back to the conspiracy side of things and how everything was aided and abetted by the people in those hotels. So I think Carol Masterson was a little aiding and abetting, but let's just read the last paragraph. It's important to note that individuals who aid and abet a crime can be held responsible for the same charges and penalties as the principal offender. Well, look at that, Carol. They are considered as equally culpable for the criminal act and face prosecution and punishment accordingly. Aiding and abetting is a concept that applies to both criminal and civil law, and the specific elements and requirements may vary depending on the jurisdiction and the nature of the offense. Well, there you have it, you guys. That's aiding and abetting. And, Scientology parents that found every last shred of information about incriminating information to do with their child and didn't do a shred of thing to stop it, but in fact encourage it by pitching to the child that all they had to do was float a needle and then it would go away. And then you wonder why Danny Masterson sits there and goes, why are these people so upset? I floated. I did everything they told me. I paid my money. My mom said it was okay. We were all okay with it. Why are they making such a big deal about it? Right or wrong? Because how are these parents going to be held accountable for any of the dysfunction they were sowing and literally breathing? It would be an interesting question to ask. This is almost done, you guys. We're almost done, but this has been a very, very interesting example of what justice in America actually looks like. What a judge that does his job, that's not scared by these attorneys that Monique Yingling and all these other corrupt people that are out there, scaring people and hiring disgusting PIs with guns and explosives and, satellite computers and, go follow a senior 80-year-old, go follow Vanessa, go terrorize those people that are talking the truth and start, the media already pitched them as warring. They're so disgruntled and so whatever. You know what? They're the ones that are disgruntled. That stupid fake media is disgruntled with themselves because they're pathetic. And they just can't stand that we run circles around them because we're not being muscled anymore. And they couldn't be more stupid. And we're about to show entire United States just how much of the enabling and the image laundering they've been responsible for, right? Because no one in the media, you guys, came to pitch Lori Vallow as, you guys, this is just a religious belief that she had. And, maybe those kids did really fall to, doing this to themselves. I mean, Lori didn't just tell us that, not everybody is murdered, that people can die of that. I mean, literally Lori Vallow goes and says that people can die a lot of ways. So yeah, the mainstream media is just literally the filth of the filth.
Term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole.
No possibility
Count
of
3,
parole.
the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception. You're sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. And on count 5, the conspiracy to commit the first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell, you're sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. Finally, the court will address count 7, which is the charge of grand theft. On that charge, court is going to sentence you to a fixed determinate term of 5 years of prison, followed by an indeterminate term of 5 years of prison for a total 10-year term of imprisonment.
10 years of imprisonment and life in prison and without parole. And I mean, that's what it sounds like when justice is going into place. And I just saw a question here. Serge, I understand that the authorities aren't doing what they should, but would it be better in another country? That is a great question, Renee. Well, what I would say is the authorities are paid to do a job and they get paid a lot. And the Department of Justice has unlimited resources to do a job that we all as Americans subsidize. But the fact is the IRS decided to make every last shred of an American subsidize what goes on in those hotels so that Debbie Cook and her cohorts could role play in their military uniform, abducting kids at scale and not giving a shred of an F, because now we're in a pickle. We told them that it was a religion, you guys, so now we can come and tell them that, oops, let's make a retraction, no longer a religion because they are organized crime, right? Like that's very hard for these law enforcement to insult that. Well, half the reason these law enforcement can't do a shred of a thing is because they've been listening to gaslighters like Debbie Cook, who, we were doing a great job there. Everything was so wonderful. And it's only David Miscavige. And never mind that no one can find him to serve him. Right? Never mind that. I mean, never mind that there's a million organized crime wishes, you guys, that law enforcement would play that dumb with them. So let's just start with that before anybody goes, oh my God, but Scientology is just so complicated. Mexican drug cartels are a lot more dangerous and complicated than these clowns at a hotel. Let's just start with that fact right there. So as much as everybody runs around pretending this is so scary and oh my God, what in the hell? We can't do anything. The guys with the guns, with how many guns are in these police departments? and they can't knock and they can't check and they can't do anything because they're so scared of Monique Yingling? Have any of them gone and seen any of the interviews she does? Every time she speaks, she blinks. She can't hold it together. She doesn't have a clue what the hell she's talking about, or she knows, and she's just like, and either way, what in the hell her license? Like, you know, the other day, this attorney was like, yeah, but you know, search attorneys, you know, they have to like, yeah, I get it. But you know what? These attorneys that didn't read a shred of a book of Elven Hubbard, that didn't, you know, mitigate the law, they didn't consult David and Marty Rathbun on the law before they just took their word. And oh my God, you love Elven Hubbard, and oh my God, you're getting closer to God, and oh my God, it's so wonderful. I don't need to read anything. The less I know, the better. Just go do it. Very much like, you know, Charlie Manson, go believe whatever, do whatever. But you know what? When those women ended up carrying out beliefs that turned out into felonies, then everybody was all about it. But since we were abused as kids and we couldn't speak at the time we were being abused, we're being told nothing can be done to stop anything and stop complaining, and there's nothing to prove, and we can't do anything, and everything is so complicated. So, you know, next lifetime, if you have, you know, this karma on you again, if you pull it in again, because that's what we were told at the hotel, everything time something bad happens is because we did it to ourselves. So let's just let law enforcement understand that, you know, kids that are 21 and done and under, there's no excuse for you not to intervene. I don't give a F how many child trafficking victims get trafficked by their own parents. And does law enforcement go, oh, was that a religious belief? Sir, before you take that girl into that hotel, are you practicing a religious belief by chance? Oh, okay, you are. Oh, okay. No, sorry. Okay. Yeah. No, we don't have to talk to you. If you say the word ecclesiastical, we'll start freezing. Our guns are literally gonna like paralyze themselves, because we can't literally go into like, oh, ecclesiastical. Oh my God, I can't understand a shred of a thing. So that's example of how not to do law enforcement, because that's corruption personified, right? The FBI went into this crime scene, dug up the bodies, grabbed the evidence, figure out where were you? What were you doing? When was this? How was this? Blah, blah, blah. Here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. And then, oh, okay, let's build a case. Well, you know, in Debbie Cook's hotel, lucky for the FBI, they literally have everything in files. Everything very, very like organized, you know, like they don't want to have anything unorganized. They want to make sure everything is, the only OCD thing they cared about was, is it organized? Is it in date order? Is it written here? Is it written there? Is it written in every single last place? So we don't forget that exactly what happened. So premeditated AF at a level that, again, law enforcement has not met the type of criminal Debbie and Marty and Dave and Shelly and every last case supervisor in that hotel is, that reads this stuff. Literally, like every note, check it, aid and abet. Literally advice, bad advice everywhere. We did a 2-week at a hotel. We're given a certificate by a minor. I mean, imagine me. I was giving certificates. Literally, you guys, I was 14. What in the hell is a 14-year-old giving certificates to grown men and women that are paying $4,000 to get taught how to do this? I mean, if anybody could explain that. So it's just also beyond pathetic. It's been made complicated because agendas are in the waters that don't want to confront and don't want to advocate on behalf of those kids that are still stuck in those goddamn hotels. And that's why it's not complicated. That's why it's so easy. That's why this is a 21 and under, right? 21 under. Like, can you get into a club? 21 and up, sure. Are you going to get drunk and something horrible? You could even be sexually abused at a 21 and up club, right? Like, we all know, we've all been there, end up there, and if something horrible happens because we were drunk of our you know what, then we got to deal with those consequences, right? We're not going to be like, oh, boo-hoo, Tampa Bay Times, cover me ad nauseum at 27 years old. I made a mistake and, you know, I ended up here and I did this and something happened to me. Like, please, like, everything has been trivialized. Everything has been like altered importance. You know, all this bandwidth of the media and all these idiots that are so gullible and easy to manipulate. And, you know, when you're doing an investigation and you don't give a shred of a fuck about what you're investigating, guess what? That investigation always ends up on a dead end. Literally, you can't investigate something you don't give an F about. Because the first, oh, that didn't make sense. Oh, well, you know what? It must have not happened. Okay, next. Okay, we don't have time for this. Let's go. It's not like there's hundreds of kids inside that hotel. And it's not like we can, you know, possibly, you know, face the wrath of the word ecclesiastical being thrown around, because we all know what happens to law enforcement the minute that word gets thrown at them. Because, yeah, maybe they've screwed up other investigations because, you know, the people that they've been listening to gaslight them and don't tell them what the hell is going on. But today, in this year 2023, you guys, with this platform, with all of you being advocates for those kids, guess what law enforcement is going to have not a shred of an ability to do? To play dumb with us. It's that simple. The truth is there. The receipts are there. Everything was premeditated. It's a wide-ranging criminal conspiracy. Go do their goddamn job and stop relying on us to have to do it for you. Right or wrong?
Or whether sentences should be imposed consecutively or concurrently. I generally don't, I'm a pragmatic person, and I've struggled with the point of a consecutive sentence when in Idaho, a life sentence is just that, a life sentence without parole. And I've thought it through. However, when I've looked at this case and the more I thought about it, I've determined that because there are 3 separate murders with 3 separate victims that occurred at 3 separate times, then running counts concurrently would not serve the interests of justice, because those crimes all need to be taken into account separately and distinctly and individually. And you need to be held accountable separately for each of the 3 murders. So on those counts, the court will run consecutively the count 2 murder of Tylee Ryan, consecutive to count 4, the murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow, and count 5 will run consecutive to count 2 and 4, the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell. So 3 consecutive life terms of prison. The remaining counts will be concurrent to the counts that are consecutive. The court will impose fines as requested by the state in the amount of $25,000 for all counts except the grand theft. On the grand theft, the fine will be in the amount of $1,000. The court will assess the civil penalty that was requested, and I find it's appropriate under Idaho Code 195307 of $5,000 per victim on each of the 3 victims as a civil penalty. And then finally, the restitution, which was requested by the state. Mr. Wood, if you could reiterate that number, 22,000 of what the restitution term is. And I want to inquire if there's any other restitution being sought by the state.
Your Honor, I believe I said 22,545. And the state would ask for an additional 30 days to submit any further restitution for the victims, living victims who have been deemed as such by this court. The court will assess that restitution on the grand theft charge of $22,545 as shown through the evidence at trial. And the court will allow 30 days for additional restitution requests, but that will be waived if it's not submitted timely.
That'll conclude the court's sentencing on the charges. Mr. Thomas, do you have any questions on the sentence?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Wood, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, counsel, before we conclude, and Ms. Vallow, importantly, I need to advise you of the rights you have now. You do have the right to appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court from this judgment of conviction.
So there you go, guys. I think that we need to all applaud. And we need to feel like, yeah, we've been through a lot. Thank you so much for keeping up with me on this whole thing. Boom, remove. And so thank you for all of you who have sticked around for this entire incredible day where, you know, somebody just said, I'm so grateful to them. They restored my faith in the system. Just going back to the comment here about it took law enforcement in 4 different states to make the case. And look, you guys, the cases are hard to make for a reason, right? Not any old person can just go on a YouTube and say, wah, 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 blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden things are going to happen. We know that's not a thing. But we also know it's not a thing if all these people, such as Debbie Cook, have been allowed time and time and time an opportunity to decompress, to think about it, to figure it out, to whatever. And they have always chosen to help themselves. And what is so disgusting about that is every time they decide to help themselves, they remind us of who they actually were when they were inside the hotel. So some people can come out, and I've run into that. There's a lot of first generation people that have been so graceful and so remorseful about what happened. And some of the things that we brought up are like, bring them to tears. And they're like, we had no idea. And, you know, we can hold space for that. We have the bandwidth and the compassion to understand that, but we just don't have a shred of patience for people like Debbie Cook and Marty Rathbun that could literally just out there to cash their own checks. And where's the repairs? And where's the you figuring out what the hell you were doing is wrong? And where are you going to stop talking about David? Right? Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about stumping out the systemic corruption that is, otherwise we would have never been here. Otherwise we would never have these lives. Otherwise we would have never had to like think about like, well, Lori Vallow, just like everyone, right? Like, all of this is a result of people that have had a chance to come clean, that have had plenty of people that haven't judged them, right? As much as everybody said, oh my God, the outside is so scary and blah, blah, blah. You know what? ABC News, shout out to them for at least giving this woman the benefit of the doubt and a half in a million, right? Because that's what happened with her. Like, people are like, well, you know, maybe she is okay. Maybe she did like it. Maybe it is a religion. And that is also just another slap in the face, because it's like, when are you going to stop playing people that are going to take you for your word? I mean, as much as I bash on Dan Harris for doing an abysmal job, which is the truth, those are the facts. It's like, maybe Dan Harris did sit next to Debbie Cook and maybe was like, okay, well, she doesn't sound that crazy. She sounds normal. And, you know, she's telling us about how she was put in a trash can. So that sounds really bad. So she, of course, is coming clean to us. I mean, it's not like she would be lying. It's not like she would be trying to hide the fact that she was Ghislaine Maxwell on crack. That would not be a thing. Well, that's where they completely and utterly underestimated Debbie Cook with her little shtick and her little, you know, I'm just like a little like white cis woman that has literally abused kids at scale and has not a shred of shame about it. But I'll say everything with a smile, and I'll just keep mentioning, you know, that doesn't belong in church. What David was doing doesn't belong in church. But what I was doing was a jolly old time. So if she could literally start getting her facts straight, we could have a little more empathy and compassion for the idiots at ABC News. But they get paid a job. They are purporting to tell you guys what in the hell is going on in these hotels. They're the ones that are being told like, okay, go with the segment, like let's investigate, let's ask questions. But if they're not going to be doing an investigation and they're just going to be baiting people for them to get advertisers, right? Because this is what it's all about. And that's what's so nauseating about the press, you guys. It's a whole corrupt system that makes no sense. The incentives are all misaligned. If Rupert Murdoch can control the entire media conglomerate, if Disney, because again, this is not red or blue, I don't give an F. I literally grew up in that hotel. I have no idea. And I have no loyalty to nothing of a party of nothing. I'm just calling out corruption as it is. It's here, it's there, it's there, it's there, and it's everywhere. And all of it is needed in order to get away with this hotel operation. Otherwise, I would be just looking like an insane person ranting about a woman that has no relevance whatsoever. But no, we're here because we have to. We're here because we are being asked to do the heavy lifting because these kids don't have a shred of an advocate. And everyone in the media has betrayed them, has failed them, has pretended that they deserved it. And, they've given all these executives a huge platform to launder their image. I mean, imagine if literally Ghislaine. So Ghislaine, how was it for you when you were there with Jeffrey? Did you have a good time? Oh, did Jeffrey put you in a trash can? Tell us about that, Ghislaine. Tell us. So how did he put you in a trash can? Never mind that how many girls she was trafficking herself, right? I mean, never mind that there's so much corruption in the Epstein thing already. Like, even that is like the fact that only Ghislaine is in jail should be a big shock to everybody. Like, how in the hell only her? And don't tell us that there's no evidence since they were into recording and all. Right? There's all these records, there's all these videos. So yeah, we have a long way to come in this country to purport that we're all about the laws, because the laws right now are being called out for being as toothless as they get. Shout out to Florida for having toothless laws. Shout out to Los Angeles, who could not have any more toothless laws. So for any wokes, for any this, but we wouldn't do that. Yeah, right. Y'all are in it together. America, IRS agents, all the people that know a whole lot of things, the bankers, you guys. Who's banking these people? JP Morgan? Hello, JP Morgan. It's not like JP Morgan, the CEO, is being asked about Epstein, right? Who's banking these hotels? And before any of them can claim, but we had no idea, we just thought they were very religious. Well, you know what? You could claim that stupidity because you've been reading corporate media that present themselves as like, we're the experts, you guys. We do so much due diligence that we literally do this to each other in a boardroom, in suits, and sit there and go, yeah, let's pitch the Debbie Cook. Yeah, let's do that. And get Marty Rathbun, because what? He always wants to tell us about what he's doing with Nicole and Tom, and he doesn't have a shred of conscience, and he'll just pitch us that he's a therapist, but he has no problem going to TV and literally telling everybody what was going on. Like, oh yeah, I got the skinny. I'm so important. You guys give me the interview. Please talk to me. I mean, as much as these people want to demonize therapists, I've yet to find a therapist that has been disgruntled and gone on the record and talked about stuff that was coming up in their patients or their therapy subjects, right? So there's a ton of misinformation that's been spread around on purpose. Debbie Cook has been unhinged, unstoppable. No one has put a shred of a question to her. Everybody's bought her little shtick that she's just an innocent Little Miss Sunshine running a hotel where everybody was so happy to come for her services. Well, you know what? It couldn't be more delusional, that narrative. So we're going to continue exposing. We're going to continue bringing receipts. There's a lot that we're working on. So I really appreciate all of the support that you are giving to the merits of everyone under 21 and under. We're advocating on behalf of. Their parents are gone. Police doesn't care. Tampa Bay Times and LA Times and New York Times and every last shred of media. Another Epstein scandal on crack. Oh, please. That's just going to cost so much to pay someone to go sit there. And that's all they want to do. Okay, tell us the story. Let's see. Let's go with the safe stuff, because we wouldn't want to get sued, because they do have a lot of millions, and God forbid they come after us for the millions. That's how this mainstream media plays it, you guys. So it's being called out because they're either doing a job and supposed to be controlling the thermometer so people that are in power are not deranged and unchecked, or they're not doing a job and they don't give a shred and they're just cash grabbing, collecting money for putting out clickbait stuff ad nauseum, because once the story's done, the segment's wrapped, we don't give a care. We are not following up. Nothing to see there. They have no lawsuits. No lawyer wants to touch this with a 10-foot pole. No. So it's that whole cycle of corruption that's needed. So we don't have a thermometer in America, because if the media is broken, who in the hell is law enforcement supposed to listen to? Well, you know what? They're going to listen to us, because lucky for us, we have YouTube now where we can talk. And yeah, my channel is literally like, I don't give a F if I don't get monetized on a video. And if I say this and if I say that, I'm not here to make money. I'm here to not waste my time anymore. I'm here to get to the point, and I'm here to start getting some answers, and we're here to advocate. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of kids, you guys. Like, that's why I'm literally here having to do this, because I get to hear it nonstop on my DMs, on my texts, like people that are coming out of the woodwork because they recognize me and they're telling me, like, oh my God, we've never heard this said. And yes, my parents did this to me too. And okay, so, but they cannot come forward. They haven't gone to therapy. They haven't had 8 years to figure it out. Well, you know, I had that luxury. A lot of these kids end up as roadkill on the side after Debbie Cook and Marty Rathbun and David Miscavige and every last shred of an executive there had their way with them. They end up as roadkill. They cannot figure out what in the hell happened. Most of them didn't understand the technology of Elven Hubbard, so they don't know how to criticize what it was, right? Like, everybody wants to talk about all this other stuff that goes on over here. Like, the amount of dysfunction stories are endless, right? It's almost like, go get dysfunction stories from crack addicts and see if there's going to be a nonstop ad nauseum, blah, blah. Of course, they're under the influence of something that is making them be deranged. So what is everyone expecting? That everybody really had it going on and they're just in a religious whatever? I mean, again, it's like, you know, what they say, it's like the use of the word religion is blasphemous, because again, like, I don't purport to have read a shred of religious theology, but even just the little bit that I read didn't say to do what in the hell these people were doing in that hotel, right? So thank you so much. This was my first live ever, and we got 68 people here. Oh my God. And we're 3 hours in, and this was incredible, you guys. So once again, you're all helping us. The kids that are in that hotel are helping us. If somebody was advocating for us the way everyone in SPTV is advocating now, our days would have been counted. We would have been rescued. The people that are supposed to do a job that they don't want to do would have no option other than, right? So that's what it's come down to. Because otherwise people play dumb and dumb and dumb and dumber. That's all we've gotten for the last 73 years of L. Ron Hubbard propping up his racketeering scam with every last shred of protege that has not come clean to the Department of Justice. Otherwise, they would have shut it down. And if the Department of Justice wasn't so lazy and didn't just care about inconveniences of documents being moved around in boxes and being infiltrated by people that were looking through their documents, I mean, let's not forget that's the only reason these people ever got indicted, right? Like when it came to them getting, their boxes looked into, it's like, oh, indictments need to be put in. Yes, we are the Department of Justice. How in the hell is this going on? Thank you, Kalish. Well, yeah, that's what we get. That's what we literally get right now. The Department of Justice loves boxes and loves documents. I mean, ask Donald Trump. Ask Donald Trump again. This is not right. This is not left. Mar-a-Lago and the Fort Harrison Hotel. The Fort Harrison Hotel is Mar-a-Lago on crack, on steroids, on literally everything you can think of is that. Now, never mind that ours apparently are not classified documents and nobody could give a shred of an F what a minor is being data mined because, it's being pitched as religion. Oh, yeah, it's a religious document, like heaven forbid, like we got all this shit written down here, right? So they cannot make a case at the Fort Harrison, nobody, but they can definitely make a case over there at that other hotel. So why are two hotels that are in the business of hiding documents and boxes and bankers' boxes and video recording and all that? I mean, even the Fort Harrison, again, runs circles around the other stuff because these people made videos of them actually abusing minors. So very big difference there, right? Oh, no, don't call it abuse of minors, sir. It's a religious belief. Please. I know what the hell those sessions were, and we're not going to eat up a BS talking point. If the media doesn't want to do their due diligence, that's on their stupidity. If law enforcement doesn't want to do their due diligence, that's on their stupidity. Don't pin it on us. We did the due diligence. We read the materials. We know what the hell this subject is all about and what is not about. So unless somebody wants to actually start reading the book, since everything is written there, everything Elven Hubbard pitches there. It's literally right there. It's like not confusing, guys. It's literally like, go check out that John Travolta video that I've been putting up where he just can't stop pitching Dianetics, where they cannot stop putting the paragraph of like the 7-year-old girl should not have a problem with being kissed. Because she needs to source her prenatal dysfunction that happened before she had that problem. Like prenatally, she must have. So all of this is just disgusting. And it requires due diligence so you can crack the codes of the euphemisms that are so dumb and stop pitching that stuff to us as a religious whatever. People want to play dumb, that's on you. You've all been told, you've all been disillusioned, your covers have been blown AF. You've got no cover now. Because we will continue exposing every last receipt. We got more videos that we can put out in a day or anything like that. There's literally so much that we have, you guys. And I'm not working by myself. There's a lot of people that are helping me. And I appreciate it, and we appreciate it. And we're all going to stop talking about this BS and stop wasting our time and move on to more subjects like pets. Shout out to people that like pets. We love pets. Let's go rescue dogs. Let's do wonderful things with our lives. And let's hold every last person that needs to be held accountable. Okay? Thank you so much, you guys. We're going to end this stream right here with a big round of applause. Our faith in the legal system is restored. One cult mom went to jail without possibility of parole of ever leaving that jail. So every last Scientology parent, that's why the title of this video is what it is. Think about what in the hell you've been into. And then change. If you have it in your head and in your self-awareness. Thank you very much. I will see you guys very, very soon.